Hello, everyone, and welcome to what might be the spiciest episode of Hotline League in a while because I came here to fight tonight. I've been tilted by social media, and I'm now going to take out. I'm just going to assume that every bad social media experience I had today is actually all of the callers and everybody in the chat, and we're going to fight tonight. It's fight night on Hotline League. You talk about Hotline Love? No, Hotline Fight. All right. Anyway, Cubby's here. Cubby, how's your week been?
It's been a little stressful. My setup might look pretty close to the same, but I have indeed moved.
Dude, it looks identical.
I know. Well, I don't have the lights up on the wall.
Yeah,
and
that's the one
it
thing.
actually is identical because we moved, without trying to dox myself here, we moved across the street. The apartment building is the same, and we are in the same apartment, except it is mirrored. So, like, the old spot, you walked in, and the entire apartment, everything was, like, on the left. It's the exact same, except when you walk in, it's on the right. So yeah, not much changed. And I'm in the room that would have been across from me at the old spot. So therefore, it pretty much is the same. Yeah.
Why did you move across the street?
Well, I have roommates. We get way more light up here because we're fourth story, bigger windows, and we get like the sun goes across the entire spot, and then we have access to a rooftop. That's pretty nice. And yes, for everyone in the chat, I am gaslighting you to think that I did in fact move when I actually didn't. I just wanted an excuse to have a lazy week and then
some anti-dox tech. You just tell everybody. You know what? I moved last week too. Everybody. Yeah. If anybody had figured out my address or anything, you didn't, because now I live someplace else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. If the FBI is listening, definitely don't check that or any of the paperwork or where he's at. Don't.
I'm at the
same
check.
It's different.
Regardless. Sorry to hear that your week was stressful, Cubby.
It's fine.
It's about to get even more stressful.
Hell yeah. Thanks, Travis. That's a hell of an intro.
Yeah. Kelby is here. Kelby, for those who are unfamiliar with you, because you now come on, once every 9 months, and people.
In Player Season 1. Are you kidding me? I'm fucking famous, dude.
Yeah. You did nothing to get in that episode, is the funny thing, too. Kelby is digitally added into Player Season 1. Anyway, Kelby, what's your story? What qualifies you to be on Hotline League?
Oh boy. I ran CLG for the first 2 years they were in LCS. And then I worked for a different esports team. And then I worked at Twitch for 3.5 years. And then I worked at Loaded for 5 years running their brand sales team. And then I was like, I've known Peter, Double F that whole time. I was his agent. I'm Bucio's agent now. And I work for Ludwig, who famously is the worst ranked League of Legends player I have ever represented in my entire career. He's platinum. And now works with Shopify.
And also, for those that many people should know Kelby, because those people will have been watching Hotline League for almost, I don't know, the 5.5 years that we've been doing it, because he used to be on a ton of episodes. I think he might be the guest with the most appearances. Raz, it's probably him or Raz, I think, and I don't know which one beats the other out. But so Kelby is we used to have him in the description of the podcast. So if you looked it up on Spotify, it would say Travis Mark Z and sometimes Kelby on Hotline League. So famously familiar.
I am the least compensated per episode guest on Hotline League in its history.
You get compensation in some ways, I think, probably.
I'm just kidding.
I'm thinking through it. Anyway, well, either way, great to have you on the show. Glad that you could be here. Today's episode is going to be split because we're going to be talking about some ecosystem stuff. But I am begging you, callers, listen. This is on the record. YouTube commentaries in the future. And please. Mark, when he says, "Why don't you talk about the games anymore?" to me when we go on our walks, please call in and speculate as to what's going to happen this weekend at CBLOL, or react to the games that we just saw. Not CBLOL, but LTA Seoul, or react to the games that just happened. We'd love to talk about the games. There is a lot to talk about besides the games, but I think Kelby and I would love to talk about the games.
Please, for the love of God, call in about the games.
And I'm not talking about the Super Bowl, for which I didn't even know who was playing in it until it was happening. I've heard more about I feel like the Kendrick Lamar performance was a bigger deal than the game itself. Is that accurate, Kelby?
Well, the game was just really not competitive whatsoever. I did watch it with a couple Eagles fans, and I'm really glad I did, because it was fun watching them get excited about a game where really the only thing that you could be excited about is if you're hate watching the Chiefs. It was delicious, which I know Kelby was in that boat.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Jordan just subbed to the channel on Twitch and said, "Hey, oh my gosh, is that Kelby May?" It is, Jordan. It is. All right. So I'm just gonna candidly give how my day has gone.
Let's do it, Travis. How's your day?
I'd love to hear it.
Thank you. So the start of the day, I was like, all right, Hotline League. A lot of the episodes this year have been a little more negative than I've wanted it to be. I think Cubby and I both felt a little bitter about some of the changes that happened last year, and so I was going to continue my efforts that I've made in previous episodes to be have a very positive, uplifting episode. And then I saw that the EWC is now going to be running ads during the LOL Esports International events, and that they've signed a 3-year deal with Riot. And I was like, that feels bad. Oh, I guess I'll see what the discussion is like on Reddit. And then I go on Reddit, and the top 10 threads on the subreddit are like, did you know that the LEC has a much larger penis than the LTA North? And I'm like, okay, cool. So that's what we're doing today. And then I tweeted about how I was bummed about what was going on. And so I got one guide by this dude that's like, would actually wouldn't have helped if you would have been ever critical about Riot Games. And I'm like, this is on a day in which I am trying to rally to be positive on Hotline League tonight, because I'm tired of being so negative. And then that was frustrating. And then I went for a walk with Mark, and we just talked about random shit, and that kind of chilled me out a little bit. And then I got on a call with Cubby, and I was like, all right, Cubby, we're going to be positive tonight. I need your help because I've been spiraling a little bit today. And then I opened up Twitter DMs, and I saw this message from somebody who said, "Hey, Travis, hope you're all right. I just saw your post about League's community and the top response to your tweet. I understand it's frustrating to already see the same takes, especially the take the user had. And I also understand the Riot Hextech controversy also kind of picked up some steam in the last week. But to be honest, the last 2 episodes of Hotline League, I was wondering if there will be any color with a take about the problem / the removal of chests and the nerf to BE again, but nothing. Not even a mention in the first 20 minutes or the outro of the show. So I'm wondering, was there really nobody with a sufficient take, or is there maybe actually something to lose for you if you talked about it and maybe even criticized Riot on your show?"
Shit! Travis, what do you have to lose?
The show has been so much criticizing Riot for like the last 2 years. And so, yeah, look, okay, I'm going to be real with people here. A couple different things. One, I could talk, we on Hotline League almost never talk about like things that are not directly related to esports. So like we talked about the cost of the Faker Ari skin last year because it was directly related to esports, but we don't talk about like, oh, the client hasn't been updated recently or whatever. There are so many other channels for people to voice this type of discontent. And I actually was surprised. I'm surprised that the Hextech Chest stuff has been like, somebody messaged me last night and she was like, hey, like this seems a little bit more of a big deal than other controversies that League has had in the past. Do you think that this could like actually affect the game? I was like, I've seen so many controversies in the past, and like, yeah, people are angry, but like this is not, dynamic queue. This is not, I don't know, so many different things that they've done in the game that people get angry about. And so, I don't know. The last thing that I'll be honest about here, and this is one of the things I would love for somebody to call in and explain to me, is I'm trying to understand the outrage on the Hextech Chest stuff, because I understand it feels bad to not get as much free shit as you used to, but I'll be honest, I don't. This is where like people are going to be like, see, Travis never criticizes Riot, like he's not up in arms. And if I wanted to, I could just vomit a bunch of faux outrage into this microphone and talk about how greedy they are and get a bunch of internet points and just be a fake person. But instead I'm going to be like, guys, I'm far more upset about the EWC shit and far more upset about the viewership stuff. And I don't truly understand why we all have a human right to Hextech Chests that must be given to every player for free in a free-to-play game. So now I know I'm going to get crucified for this. But here's my open thing to the audience. Why don't you call in and explain to me? Because clearly I am the Simpsons meme of the school principal being like, "Is it me?" or whatever. Like, I'd love to be educated on this stuff because maybe I haven't done enough research or whatever. But I don't understand the outrage. So this is my humble request to the community to better inform me, because if there is something that I'm missing here about how scummy this is, I would love to be educated, but I would like it to be a discussion. But anyway, that's why I'm so fucking tilted at the start of the show. And there's the explanation.
Nice. I like how we had a good call where it's like, let's not be tilted. Then 45 minutes later, we're a little tilted. But
I got tilted by this goddamn direct message on Twitter.
Yeah. I mean, giving him what he wants, by making it to the show. Anyway, we do have a lot of calls on the tank so far. I don't know if we want to putz around and talk about what we were up to in the week, but actually a lot of good takes at the moment. So I don't know if you want to get into the calls or...
Yeah, well, before I do that, I would be remiss if I did not once more thank NZXT for sponsoring the show. They do great stuff. We're going to talk about them later on in the episode. But additionally, I am super thrilled to announce one thing that doesn't have me tilted, is that PrizePicks, who was with us last year for, I think it was Summer Split and Worlds, have returned for the next couple of months and possibly longer. They are working with us on the show, and so not only will we be talking about them on the show later on, but we're also going to be returning the prediction show that Cubby and myself and a couple friends were doing during Worlds, so we'll be doing that a little bit. Some episodes will drop over the next couple of months. So thank you to PrizePicks. You can sign up at the link in the YouTube chat or YouTube description if you're watching later on, and use code Travis when you do. It helps out the video. It helps out the channel. It helps me make videos, is what I mean to say. But thank you to NZXT and PrizePicks for sponsoring the show. We'll talk more about them later. All right, Cubby. Yeah, you want to just hop in? If you think we got good callers, let's go for it.
Real quick, if you guys do want to add to the list of good topics we have so far, discord.gg/Travis. Drop your take at me, at Cubby. Join one of the calls. I did have to ask someone to join a call. You have to be in there. We'll drag you down to the waiting room to take your take. And yeah, besides that, excited to talk about the games. We have calls about the games, Travis, and I thought we had good games this past week. So,
yes.
Or I should say just yesterday, as it was a one day. But yeah, it was good games.
Yeah, I'm down to talk about games. I mean, I don't mind if somebody wants to call in about the EWC. I know we don't really talk about it, but like if somebody has a strong opinion, and then obviously we're gonna go viewership, all these different things. So
we're gonna go chests first, then format, then games, if that's okay.
Yeah. We're getting chests out of the way first.
Yeah, I don't have a lot on this, so I'm interested to see what this caller has. I'm gonna go get him.
Cool. I am ready. All right. While we wait for the caller to come by, first off, thank you to Spud Tugger. Danny Grimm gifted 5 subs a little bit ago on Twitch. That was very generous of them. Frost T with the 6 months, and then Danny Grimm also sent a tier 1. Said, started reading Brandon Sanderson because Riot canceled Hextech Chests. Well, if you're gonna switch from out of one Travis passion, why not switch to a different one? I think that makes sense. All right. Our first caller of the evening is here. It's WeJustPlay. WeJustPlay, welcome to the show. Where are you calling from?
Hello. I am calling from Chicago.
From Chicago. I'm going to be there next week.
I know. I kind of want to see if I can meet you because I haven't seen you since you were here for the United Center, and I don't even play Magic, but it'd be kind of cool to see you again.
Yeah, thank you. Well, if I bump into you, I'll say hi, or you should say hi. What do you want to talk about on the show?
So I am the caller about the Hextech Chest stuff, and then I don't know if you want me to talk about this as well, but I also mentioned that I agree with you about EWC.
Okay, well, let's start with the Hextech Chest stuff.
Yes.
Because I think this will be a longer thing. Okay, so here's the context for me. I am a Blitzcrank one trick, and I've been playing League for 15 years. And so for me, like, I remember when you couldn't get Hextech Chests, and then it seemed like a really cool bonus that they added to the game. And I do like unlocking other champions because I play a lot of ARAM, and it's cool to get skins and all this stuff. So I always thought Hextech chests were fun. But that's sort of, if you can, please feel free to educate me on, maybe what it is like to, are these chests important for grinding ranked, or how does this work?
Okay, so I'll be honest, I'm not entirely sure where to start on the explanation based on what you were just saying, but I think what I would probably say is the main issue is that this has been in League for almost 10 years. I think the 9-year anniversary is like in a month or two. And so when they have had something in place that allowed people, it was one of the only ways, actually the only way before Clash, where you could actually earn things that you would have to spend real world money on. It was, like you said, a nice bonus. But the reason it is so causing so much of an uproar that they're being taken away now is when you couple that with the fact that they are introducing incredibly toxic and predatory gambling practices in League. I'm not calling it gacha, it's gambling. I don't care if it's a guarantee, that whatever. It is just, it smacks of greed. First, it was the Jin Chroma. They didn't listen to the responses on that. Then it was the Ari skin. And then now it was the Jinx thing. And then this set Chroma, which they said for years how many times they couldn't make another skin like the Ultimate Lux skin because it was just too technologically impossible. And yet they just made that Exalted set skin, which does the exact same thing as Elementalist, but only 3 times. It's ridiculous. It's actually just insane.
Dude, I think the biggest mistake Riot ever made was making that Elementalist Lux skin, because it is, I'm sure whatever money they made on that skin pales in comparison to the amount of, like, it is brought up every 5 minutes by people on this topic and so many other topics.
I mean, it's just because it's brought up every 5 minutes doesn't make it not a valid point. And I mean, that's fair. That's true, because you cannot make something, make it extremely well. Mind you, this skin was made in 2016, I believe. So almost the same time, around the same time that Hextech Chests came to be. And then all this time and then the controversy about how illy received the Samira Ultimate quote unquote skin was. Yeah. And then you find, oh no, but if they're going to charge $500 for it, suddenly they can just move heaven and earth. Okay, well then what's the deal here? Either you can make something cool or you can't, but you can't have your cake and eat it too. And that's just one topic. I mean, I have a whole list of other things. I'll just mention some of them real quick. So they removed the Hextech chests. They removed level up rewards. By the way, you still get keys for the chests you can't earn in your honor rewards right now and your level up rewards. There's no free to play rewards. The battle pass that they are forcing down people's throats is trash.
Wait, I've been getting free to play rewards on the battle pass even though I haven't bought it.
Yeah, cool. Except all of the stuff that they're trying to force you to get by buying the battle pass is not even worth the money, but they are trying to spin it in such a way that they are trying to say, oh yeah, you're trying to get the Hextech chest back, but look, this battle pass, which is so much cheaper, you get the same kind of stuff. Except,
okay, but the reason I cut in there was because I was confused, because you said that there's no free to play rewards, but I was saying there are free to play rewards, right?
Yes, but not in the same quantity, or shall I say, available quality. Because yeah, you are guaranteed to get those battle pass skins if you do buy the full pass, or I think the elite skin is the only one for free, right? But if
you're also getting the champ for free too, which is nice. That's pretty common practice in other games, but yeah.
But then on top of that, if I got a Hextech chest, yeah, you're probably going to get Shamrock Malphite, let's be serious. But at the same time,
that's skin owned, so that's cool.
You could get an ultimate skin, and that's worth it, because yeah, you're also getting it for free, but you have the chance of getting something that's actually pretty nice, And it's just, there's so many levers that they could have pulled, but without just out and out removing the Hextech chess system, which was so well liked, because it was one of the few things that Riot actually did that was fully complementary to their player base. I mean, and then when you add Clash being removed, basically halved or quartered the frequency. the client is still I mean, that's an age-old song that'll never die. It's just, mind you, this is the other thing that you probably hear all the time, but wasn't it, which one of the founders was it? I think it was Trinamir or whatever, Mark or whatever, who came out and said, like, this is the biggest budget Riot has ever had, ever and ever and ever.
Niccolo that to me, ago. It was Niccolo a long time ago. He's no longer the CEO.
Yeah, but that to me, like, the way you feel about Elementalist Lux is the same way I feel about that statement. Because ever since he made that statement, it has been worse and worse and worse and worse, and just a slow, steady decline towards nonsense.
Do you feel like the game is worse?
Decisions. Pardon?
Do you feel like the game is worse?
Yeah, but I'm a jungler main, so that might be my bias talking, because I absolutely hate Otacon.
Because I'm enjoying League in a way that I haven't in years. So
yeah, I think the game is a good spot, actually.
So I just push back when people say like everything's gotten worse and worse and worse, because I'm like, I don't know, the season's pretty sick. I like all the Noxus stuff. The map looks a little bit like it's August or something. Like that's
I appreciate they listened to the community on the map too, and actually made a couple changes to turn it closer to normal Summoner's Rift, and it should be easier on PCs as well. Because I know a lot of people have had issues with FPS. Like even I have, and my PC is not new. It's like 4 or 5 years old. That probably just shouldn't be happening, right? So I do appreciate that as well.
So okay, I'm gonna take a step back and let Kelby and Cubby both pop in here and sort of.
I mean, I'm just gonna talk.
Sorry to interrupt, Cubby. Can I add one last thing before they jump in?
Yeah, sure.
Travis? Okay, the last thing that I wanted to mention off my list that I had written down was that they also just did how much damage in terms of layoffs, specifically to their art team, which was like the one team besides the music group that people really had a ride or die mentality for, because no matter how many bad decisions, executives or gameplay balance, whatever people were pissed off at, people could always still go back to the art team, including the personalization team, which is like the skins team. And they could be like, man, they're doing great work. These splash arts are great. These skins are pretty good. And it's just, that is now gone too. And now it just feels like money, 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 money. Go ahead. Sorry.
Okay. Go, Kelby.
If I could, Kelby. Before we even go into our responses, I've heard a very long list of what I would think are valid grievances. But what do you want to happen differently?
I mean, this is probably a pretty obvious answer, but give me the damn chests back.
Is that it? You just the chests are back and you're fine.
No, I mean, there's a bunch of other things. I mean, God, how many things did I just list off that I had grievances with? But first,
of those, which are like your expectations that you think like Riot as a developer actually needs to make action on?
The first thing then would be the layoffs, reversing the layoffs. Obviously, not overnight. They're not going to be able to hire however many people they let go. But a year ago, they laid off, 400 or 500 people total. I don't know how many of that was for the art team, but it must have been quite a lot, because in this past year, we have seen how many people make comments about how god-awful these skins were. But not just the Battle Pass. I just mean overall. The decline in quality has just not been there. And especially when they're trying to say it in such a way where, hey, we made these layoffs to be more budget friendly. And then it's just, there's so many contradictions of what they're saying and what they're doing that it's hard to even list it all, to be honest with you. So top two, layoffs. Second thing, good, and this is goodwill focused response, Hextech Chests.
Okay. I know that I had said Kelby and Kelby, but Kelby's sitting on something that I was going to ask you specifically, which is I think is a follow up to this. I don't want us to go back in circles. So, how much do you, caller, WeJustPlay? How much do you believe a free to play player deserves from Riot Games?
At this very moment, considering how hard it is to earn anything in this game, the champions included now, and I know that they made that change, but still, I mean, I don't really think it's that much of a stretch to say to keep the old system as is.
So you're saying that Riot Games owes free to play League of Legends players, like it is something that is deserved, that people who spend no money on the game should be able to unlock different skins, different champions, different in-game items. That this should be something that people who play the game but spend no money on it deserve.
100%, because that's the trade-off that a business makes by having the nerve to charge $500 for a skin they know people are going to want to buy because it has Faker's name attached to it. Absolutely. You don't get to offer something on a free-to-play service like this, charge $500 for it, and then take away the few free-to-play things that are actually available to the population as a whole.
I will say, I think that the 500-hour skin, like, I wouldn't bring that up in this conversation. For me, I watched Nikrit's video on this. I don't have a lot of strong feelings. Like, I can talk about me as a customer with League. But the thing that I agreed most with his video was the fact that Riot has done a lot to try and satisfy the whales. And this feels really crappy for someone that isn't going to put a lot of money into the game, right? Personally, I think that so like the way that I work with League, right? I have 2 accounts. I've leveled up both, and I've had them forever. My first account, I pretty much have every skin for all my favorite champs. The second account, I was able to collect a lot of them with the chests, and I just would buy the battle passes, because if I played the game, I felt like I got a lot out of that to actually use chests, get skins, get essence, and like pick up stuff that I liked. I actually would buy that more than buying a direct skin. I think that's why, obviously that's why Riot made this change. I think that the toughest part is that when you have something that's free and then you remove it, fans are always going to be mad. Personally, I actually think it's far more important that your free-to-play player gets access to more champs faster than what you currently get in the game. I think that's the biggest issue if you're a new player, is that it does take a very, very, very long time. Like, I didn't put money into my second account. I played 500 ranked games, like, plus a year on that thing back when I was in college and played the game a lot. It took me 5-6 years to collect all the champions on that account, and I think that's crap. I think that needs to be way faster, and for me, that's actually a way bigger issue than getting access to free skins. I think that if you get 5 free skins a year, then Riot is doing you a massive favor, and it should be like, okay, that's fine. I think that they should have kept chests around and lowered the rates so that they wouldn't get blowback like this. The thing that I agreed most with the Crits video is that the free play player experience does feel really crappy. And for me, the biggest issue again is just unlocking champs. I think it's like, I've been playing Marvel Rivals. You ask anyone that boots up that game, the fact that you get access to the entire roster right off the bat, like, how is that not fucking awesome? So, like, you can just play everyone that you want right off the bat, and that's fine. I used to like HOTS. They'd rotate like, I think, a fifth of their roster for free every week. That was way better than like what League has now. So
you know,
for me,
MOBA
that's actually the biggest issue.
Every hero free.
What?
Dota 2.
Yeah, true. Pudge player, man.
Well, and not only that, but I don't know if this is going to change any of the three of your opinion on my call, but I've been playing League since Season 3, and I am a whale. Like, I have spent thousands and thousands of dollars on this game. So I know that if I am this pissed off about these changes, I can only imagine what it would be like for someone who isn't or can't spend that amount of money over the years. Because it just leaves the sourest taste ever. I mean, truly. Yeah. Because I can't imagine what it would be like for someone who is either younger or not well off or whatever, who is like constantly seeing how many high-end premium quote-unquote things are offered, and then the one thing they could depend on. And also, Travis, I want to directly counter what you made a quick mention about with like what are free-to-play players owed. Okay, yeah, technically they're not owed anything, but don't act like Hextech Chests guaranteed you a skin. Most of the time, you were going to get a champion anyway. And that was like one of the things about being a free-to-play player that you could count on to get champions faster. And now that's gone too.
So would you, would you have been okay with Hextech Chests only giving champions? I don't play any games. Like, I've played a lot of different free-to-play games over the years, and I don't know of any that just give cosmetics away for free unless it's like a really special thing, you know, like an anniversary thing or something. Mm-hmm. And that has always been my... What's up, Kelby?
Got to get you into some Fall Guys, all right?
Yeah, there's
cosmetics for days.
there's a decent number of free-to-play games that will give cosmetics away for free, but certainly all the big successful ones, the nice cosmetics are gated behind,
right,
the paid battle pass, or now very, very increasingly, like the caller is talking about, gambling mechanics, which have just completely taken over monetization in the industry.
I will say that one of the things that I agree more so with is, as a fan and someone that did use chest a lot and like relied on that for skins, having the system go from chest to gacha does feel super shitty. I completely agree with that sentiment, and why fans don't like that. Like I completely understand that. For me, it's just, I find that the new player experience, you should be able to get all champs within 2 years, and that's still bullshit. I think that you should have access to so many more champions than what you do now, and that is a much bigger issue for me than if you get free cosmetics or not. So yeah,
I think that Riot, and as we've discussed, basically every other major publisher and developer who makes a live service game right now is continuing to evolve and learn more about their monetization model. When League was essentially the game that really popularized the free-to-play model, and when I started playing League, like Travis, back in the West that I've been exposed to, we started playing back in 2010, a free-to-play game that was so sick. And the most expensive skin, like the Ultimate Ezreal skin when it came out, was like $35. And I, like you, WeJustPlay, would probably historically have been defined as a whale, where like I spent hundreds, if not thousands of dollars in League and Dota.
Caller, sorry, your mic is kind of popping off.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I was happy to do it because I put thousands of hours into those games. Now, recently, in the past couple years, publishers and developers have pushed the monetization model so that all of the big cosmetics end up behind gambling or, loot box features, and less cosmetics are available to the free-to-play player. And I feel like, unfortunately, what has happened is, for me, somebody who used to spend at least $500 a year across live service games and cosmetics, my spending has essentially dropped to zero, because I don't feel like there is a middle point anymore for the free-to-play player. They are catering exclusively to whales, and I suspect that a lot of the data that these publishers and developers have is that they feel that they can probably push prices even higher. They are just slowly boiling the consumer in terms of escalation of pricing. I stopped playing Dota 2, a game that I loved, entirely because I just got sick of the way that Valve was monetizing the game. The only way this will change is if the consumer behaves differently. The problem I think that exists is because it's easy for people to say, oh, just don't buy the skin. You don't have to buy it. You can play the game for free. The thing that I think needs intervention and regulation is the gambling systems that exist. If it was just, hey, we have a skin, it costs $500, buy it or not, it is very, very different than you get a loot box, you open it, you get that fucking dopamine hit, you're rolling for whatever. A lot of European countries and other regions have regulation against this. In the US, I don't want to get too political or whatever, it has avoided and probably will continue to avoid regulation for a long time. I think it needs to be looked at. But ultimately, I also think what you're expressing, WeJustPlay, is probably a prevailing sentiment, not just amongst League players, but across gamers in general, that will also become a factor in monetization practices for publishers and developers long-term, as they're like, hey, when we started to boil the consumer, we just saw profits continue to increase and increase. But if enough people get pissed and they stop spending, obviously they are just checking the bottom line here. And if revenues go down and profits go down, they will need to change behavior accordingly. The thing that sucks for League players is that like there's not really great mobile alternatives. Dota 2, I love Dota 2, but it's a very different game. If you're like me and you fucking hate the way that Apex is monetizing or Siege is monetizing, there's a bunch of other shooter titles to transition to, right? But at the end of the day, I don't think Riot's going to change anything until it affects their bottom line. And ultimately, at the end of the day as well, to your biggest point, they don't owe you shit. You're not entitled to any free stuff. And if you don't like it, you need to vote with your wallet.
Oh, no, I already have.
Yeah.
The way you just described yourself with your spending habits is exactly the same as I have. I haven't spent $1 on League since last July, which is unheard of for me because I would buy every pass. I would grind the events like crazy. And I have gone completely cold turkey. Nothing from the Your Shop, nothing from the sale, nothing. Haven't bought a single bit of RP since I think like mid to late July. And I do not regret it at all.
Yeah.
So
yeah, you know what's crazy is like I remember all the money I used to spend on cosmetics, and I still play these games. Well, I don't play Dota anymore, but I still like play Apex, and I stopped spending money on Apex, and I'm like, damn, I don't miss spending money on Apex. But I see a lot of financial benefit of not doing it.
I would echo most of what Kelby just said. I would love to see regulation. Like, if the issue that I have with the current conversation is that there's a couple things here. One is I would be far more connected and find a lot of this conversation something I would resonate with if it wasn't about, hey, we're not getting as much free stuff as we used to get. If it was instead, hey, I want to spend money in this game and I can't do it without interacting with, which is not true, by the way, you can buy stuff right now, but like if a lot of the conversation was like, hey, I'm tired of being in a situation where I have to go swipe my credit card and then hope for a chance to get something, I think that is fair. If it is a lot of the really cool things that I want to buy, I'm just completely priced out of now, and there's not a way for me to financially support a game or a hobby that I am like spending a lot of time on, I am okay with that. Like, I think those are really reasonable takes that people can be frustrated with. I know last year I was fine with the $500 Faker Ari skin, partially because there were like lesser versions of it that were available at far lower price points, and because I knew that the esport actually would, like, esport needs money, and like if they want to go fucking get some software engineer in Palo Alto who spends none of his time doing anything outside of working and playing League to spend $500, and that helps keep the streams alive, I'm fine with that. But I do think that there needs to be a variety of price points that make these things available for everybody. So like, if there's a lot of frustration around, hey, the game has gotten way more expensive for people who want to spend, I would get that. I just like, and maybe this is finally the time where I become a boomer, but like, God, guys, I fucking remember when it cost $60 to get a game, and you didn't know if it was going to be good, and Best Buy would not take it back if it had an issue or if it did not work on your computer. And now there are millions of people that play this game every day for hours and hours and hours. They have invested so much time of their life into this, and it is freer than the water that comes out of the faucets in their home. They have to spend no money on it whatsoever. And whenever I hear those people act outraged or entitled and be like, how dare you not give me my free skins, Daddy Riot, I'm just like, okay, yeah, it would have been cool if they got them, and it's certainly okay for you to express frustration that that's not the case, but there's like a really frustrating level of entitlement that I hear from these people, and I'm like, be angry that you can't spend money the way you want to in the game. Be angry that like things have gotten more expensive, but don't act as though you deserve free stuff, because like, I don't think you deserve that. Now, if other game companies come along and offer you 1 million free things in their game to get you to switch to their game, fucking go for it. You know, like the Riot does, you know, they need to decide how much they value a free-to-play player, and if they're fine with those folks going to another game, then I'm fine with that, and they should be fine with that. But I just like, it is tough for me on this Hextech Chests stuff, because I'm just like, look, get angry about all the other stuff, get angry about how hard it is to spend, you know, buy something that you necessarily want without having to roll a dice 1 million times to get it. but like it is so difficult for me to get to deal with the like I want my free skins sentiment, which is what it feels like a lot of this is. And like, no disrespect to you, caller, because like I hear where you're coming from on a lot of this other stuff, but like it still, our conversation hasn't changed this. The other thing that I want to share here really quickly in this, and I know that like this is on a show that's not gonna get out in a broader conversation, and I want to be clear here that these were like conversations in passing. I don't have like I'm not coming out here with like official sources on this stuff or whatever. But the rumors that I've heard over the years are that monetization slowed down a lot in the game and that people stopped spending as much as they used to. And I'm not talking about when $500 faker skins came out. I believe that a lot of the monetization strategy has changed in response to a slowdown in the past however many years in people buying stuff. And I think part of that is probably, if you think about it, if you play this game for a long time, you do just get so many chests, you get so many things that you get champions unlocked, you get skins unlocked, you have a lot of stuff. And if you're just like somebody who casually plays the game and you've already got your favorite champion and you've already got like 3 skins that you've unlocked for it over time, how much do you feel like buying a 4th skin for that champion? If you are an ARAM player, like unlock the champions with blue essence or whatever. And so, you know, I saw this Reddit thread that was like, oh, did you have to take away Hextech Chests in order to spend all this money on Arcane? And I'm like, probably. Like if they're like, we talk a lot, you know, it's ironic because there's this community sentiment, which I think is personally overblown, which is, you know, against my argument a little bit, but that like League is dying in North America. And when you talk to most businesses, people talk about how the North America market, specifically the US and Canada, is the most valuable market in the world. People spend the most money here. It's a very lucrative market. And so if the community has this impression that League is dying in North America, then they are losing a lot of money and revenue over time. And that might be what has led them to be in a place where, like, in the dev update, they're saying this is not sustainable. Like, I think that, you know, whenever they're like, how do we fund our next Arcane show or whatever, they're like, well, we could either, like, they realize the costs are there and they have to figure out how to do it. I'm not trying to justify this shit. I'm not saying that, like, oh, Daddy Riot should start charging everybody all this stuff and, like, take away all their free things because I want, like, the next episode of Arcane or whatever, despite what people are going to, you know, re-justify all this as saying. But, like, I do think that if this was a publicly traded company, which it is not, that there would be a lot more data in the earnings reports that would perhaps explain why we have gotten to this point. So I just wanted to share that because that's like stuff that I've been hearing for years now about the state of stuff. And I think it might provide some context on why this stuff is going down.
You know, I think another big issue about the whole monetization practices is, I don't remember what your and Mark Z's Genshin podcast used to be called. I'm sorry, but
Resin Refresh.
Yes, thank you. Okay. So since you used to play Genshin, right, one of the core tenets of owning and operating a gacha system is being able to earn that currency. That's how they skirt so many of those gambling laws.
Yeah.
Riot's not doing that. And that is what is further pissing people off, because Mythic Essence is not on the battle pass like it used to be. And on top of that, the chromas for the event skins are also locked behind Mythic Essence now, which further pissed people off.
My friend, do not bring up Genshin Impact in defense of what Riot is doing. Genshin Impact is probably part of the reason why, or in offense to what Riot is doing.
No, that's a perfect example of just how bad Riot is acting. That Genshin does
No, my friend, I fucking promise you that, like, probably part of the reason why I'm disconnected from this conversation is because of Genshin Impact. Genshin Impact was the first time where I came up against something that felt like a very predatory monetization system. The fact that it was incredibly hard to unlock new stuff in Genshin.
I'm talking specifically about the gacha system. Now, I'm not talking about earning stuff overall.
I'm talking about all of it. I'm talking about all of it. Because, like, you're trying to say, like, Genshin is more generous than League. My friend,
No, that's not what I'm saying at all.
Okay.
I was talking specifically about the gacha, mythic, whatever sanctum nonsense. I'm saying that they took away the mythic essence off the battle pass, blocked it behind whatever. Now, the stuff that you used to be able to get for free through the battle pass, like the chromas, is behind the crafting sanctum thing. Then the sanctum currency, whatever they're called, you can't earn them for free like you could in other gacha system games. That's another layer to how it's just seemingly nasty. I don't know what other word to use. Genshin is not more generous. No, I would never say that. I'm talking specifically if you compare the gacha systems 1-to-1. That's what makes it look bad, is like you have no way of just playing the game and being like, yeah, I can get one pull off of the sanctum.
I just don't think they're comparable, because I think Hamal in the chat says you can ignore the sanctum in League and be perfectly happy. Good luck playing Genshin while ignoring the gacha. Like, I just don't.
Should we move on?
That's a fair.
Yeah. I think it's fine to move on.
Yeah.
Chat is begging us to move on. So
thank you, caller.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, and I do appreciate you calling in. And like, I hope you didn't feel like I was particularly dismissive.
I thought you articulated it pretty well.
No, I listen to your show every week, so like, this is probably the one issue I've ever like had such a hard line disagreement with you on.
Yeah.
That's why.
I get it, and maybe there's.
Hey, reach out.
I'm open to the idea that I'm out of touch. What would you like to shout out here at the end of the call?
Shout out to my partner who hid for cover in the other room as soon as I got on the call because he knew I was going to be loud. And I don't know. Shout out to the Eagles kicking the Chiefs' ass. It was pretty glorious last night.
Nice. Thanks so much for the call. We'll catch you next time.
Bye.
Oh, I wish we had more time on the show. There's so many things we need to talk about that are actually relevant to the topic that the show covers, which is the LTA. Because I just like, it is so tilting, this conversation, because I just don't get it. Like, even now I see people in chat saying like, Daddy Riot is paying Travis well, or stuff that's like stuff that says, Riot said you guys deserve free skins from Chest. It isn't a player made up problem. I don't know. I just don't get it. Here, let me just ask both of you here at the end. Kelby and Cubby. Am I crazy on this?
No. Absolutely not.
No, you're
Riot
not.
Doesn't know you. Riot doesn't owe you anything. And if you don't like it, do something about it. Don't fucking play the game. Don't spend money on the game. You're going to log back into League, you little addicted fuck.
I will say I was talking to a friend who works not at Riot, but within the gaming space, and he is talking about how he's like, we see all these players get angry whenever we release some sort of premium thing that has like a high price point, or it's like a gacha system or something. He's like, and then they all just line up and swipe the credit card over and over and over again, and we just see the chart go crazy. So I don't know. It's
I can say that because I fucking quit Dota because I disagreed with their monetization practices. I have lived what I preach.
I quit Hearthstone for that reason, and now look at me. All right, shall we get into the next call?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. All right. Shout out to. By the way, everybody, just want to say one thing that we're going to be removing from the stream soon is the ability to chat without sending a sub. So if you would like to continue chatting in the future, please make sure you all sub right now or become a member. It's just not sustainable to do the show without that. So I hope you all
Tier 1 emote only. Tier 3 you get to use words.
Blue Otter League, thank you for the raid of 61 people over on Twitch. That's pretty cool. All right, we have David is here. David, where are you calling from?
Jersey City, New Jersey. How y'all doing?
Yes. This show is a banger tonight.
What do you want to talk about, David?
I heard you wanted to get us back on topic with esports, so I'm here to piss off the entire Brazilian audience.
Oh boy.
No.
I gotta go. I can't be associated with this.
We're gonna get 9/11 memes on the timeline again.
Oh, great. My take for you tonight is that Riot messed up by simply not combining the North and South right away because they were too scared to upset Brazilian fans who would have watched it anyways. And in the process, we pretty much killed North America.
Okay.
Wait.
All right.
Elaborate. Wait.
That last part wasn't in the take. But
Yeah.
No, I
he saved it. He saved it. Wait. What? Elaborate though on your take.
So basically, rebranding to the LTA North, putting no marketing behind any of this without having that reliance on Brazilian viewership as well, pretty much killed like the domestic only NA side of things as seen by the viewership so far, the split, which is just abysmal, like almost as bad as weekdays. Terrible. So now Riot's going to try and claim that the viewership over the next 3 weeks, whenever we have that cross-conference play, is like amazing and great. And it's like, okay, well, you should have just done the VCT America's model and just dealt with the backlash of Brazilian fans that would have been pissed at you from the jump, if that's truly what you wanted and you think is going to be like the better option. But what we have right now for like the LTA North is just tragic.
Wait, why? I missed something, and sorry for not being as tapped in. Why is the new format causing LTA North viewership to suffer, whereas like it was good last year?
It's not necessarily the format. In my opinion, I think it's a lack of Riot understanding how much marketing they had to do to get people to realize that LTA North was LCS. You got rid of a legacy brand that's been around for such a long period of time, and people just have no clue what's going on. I mean, we still haven't gotten a schedule for this upcoming weekend in English. It's available in Portuguese, but it's not available in English unless you go to the LoL Esports website. Meanwhile, the LTA South has tweeted it out on their Twitter account at least 3 times.
Wait,
now.
If it's on the website, then we have the schedule.
But it needs to be on Twitter and on TikTok and on YouTube and everywhere. Plaster this shit everywhere you can possibly find it, because dear God, there's so many comments across all social media platforms of, oh, I didn't know a game was on today. It's on Saturday at 2 p.m. Eastern now instead of 4 p.m. Like, what? You gotta plaster this shit. Riot learned this lesson last year whenever they changed, or they had like that one Friday day. They realized that nobody tuned in one week, and the next week you tune into the broadcast and every 3 seconds they're saying, hey guys, by the way, games are on next week at this time. It's like, okay, well, you learned your lesson there. And then this year comes in, and you just forget all of that people need to be hit in the face with it 20 million times to remember what time it's going to be. What?
Traffic,
what are we doing?
Travis, there's no way that you think that like just putting it on the LoL Esports site is
no,
like
I'm not saying like the statement was if David had been like, hey, we're not doing enough to promote it to the English audience, that I would get. But whatever, he's like, we don't even have a schedule. You just have to go to the website where the schedule's posted to see the schedule. It's disgusting. I'm like, okay, all right, wait, let's make sure we're talking about reality here. But yes, I agree.
So wait,
not great that it's not on English social channels.
So if it was combined leagues though, this wouldn't be an issue because they would market it more. Is that what you're saying?
I think it masked part of the problem, which is like declining North American interest in general on the esports side, potentially. But their clear goal, at least in my mind, like 5 years from now, is like, if they got to combine it, they combine it. Like, just do it now. Don't let it slowly bleed out. Don't let us just like tune into these viewership numbers and just see the main Twitch stream at like 30K with no notable co-streamers, because NA, we don't have anybody like that other than in the South to carry this shit.
If it was combined, how would they do LAN matches?
How does VCT Americas do LAN matches?
Okay, but are you saying then that all the Brazilian teams need to come to NA?
Yep, come on up.
Okay, David, we have found the issue. That is too big of a stretch for year one for sure.
I don't understand. I'm trying. Okay,
David,
help me understand. Why is it that is a better situation than what we currently have? Like it sounds like you're like, oh, if you were gonna do this, just kill us. You know, like,
I'm down to go to Brazil. We could do it
David
reverse.
Needs the South American numbers to boost us. Okay, I don't know why. I don't know when he gave up on NA, when he lost faith. But this is a dark day for me.
Or hear me out. We bring everybody over to the East Coast, but I don't think we want to go there.
That's definitely not happening.
Yeah,
exactly. So I'm trying to keep it within
but
like
David,
the realm
David,
of not
explain to me. Sorry, I'm just trying to understand. Like, if A equals B, then B equals A. Like, why is it you're saying, okay, the problem right now is North American viewership bad.
Yep.
Riot didn't do enough to market it.
Yep.
So they should have, I'm like, okay, I'm there with you on that.
Yeah.
Then you say, so then they should have merged us and moved the Brazilians to LA. And
because
this is where I don't understand the connection.
I lack the faith that Riot can fix the problem. They've proven to me at this point that like we just don't understand how to market the product. So I'm beyond like the point of saying, okay, we need to do X, Y, and Z thing to fix LTA North. I'm saying, fuck it, let's give it to the South. And let's just do all of this.
So
like,
your take is basically like, all right, I don't think that they were going to, your take is basically like viewership bad, not enough marketing, so they should have just killed North American esports.
I'm saying if you were going to be this lazy with marketing, at least rely on Brazil from the jump.
Okay. When you wrote this take, I actually thought what you meant was like at the start of winter, week 1, like just combine them immediately for the tournament. Not actually like combine the two conferences into one league. I don't think that they could do that. I mean, partly because Brazil is popular. I thought you meant like week 1 have these teams playing up against each other. Because for me, I talked a lot about how that should be the purpose of the new league. Like you should be rooting for LTA North teams versus LTA South or vice versa, given what your allegiance is. And hopefully when those teams go international, whoever the representatives are of each, you root for them, right? Like, I think that if this is going to be successful, LTA North fans should be rooting for the LTA South team's secondary, right? And also there should be a rivalry. That for me is easier to create if this split 1, like you had that right off the bat. I know we're going to get that for the upcoming week. But I think that if you have a faster tournament where you were able to have the teams combined, and I say faster because I am thinking about logistics. Like you would need to have this be a sprint if you were to combine it from day 1, because you'd just the travel and the cost, like those teams are going to be in those locations. I think that would have been really fun for split 1. I kind of thought that's what you meant with this take, not just like straight up combining the two leagues right off the bat. Because I think
that
were
in a meeting before this talking about the show, and Cubby goes, like, there was one take that had been put in the chat so far. Like, this was like half an hour before the show, and it was David's. And Cubby goes, "Oh, I'm gonna pull David. He's got a really good take. I agree with it so much. Like, it'll be a really good conversation." And I was like, "Are you sure? Because David's takes are sometimes a little out there." He's like, "No, this one's great." And then David just fucking shoves a dagger into Cubby's back live on air in front of me.
Yeah,
I mean, you got to be a little bit inflammatory, no? Like a basic call, at least in my mind, doesn't get on the show, and we got to get you views.
Your call would have got on the show fine.
Okay, let me ask you this, Cubby. Let me ask you this. We do your system. Okay, we shotgun everything. We bring them all together for split 1. Split 2, we do best of 1, double round robin, North America alone. How's viewership?
I don't know. I guess we'll find out, right?
It's where it's at now. That's going to be the answer. Because like
No, I think it's going to be higher because split 2 for me is a more entertaining format. Even without the Fearless, I just think it's going to be like it's a more normal
and regular
split.
season was the same as lock-in back when we had that. Yet viewership was identical between the two.
Okay. I mean, again, I think that if the purpose of the new system and the new league is to have the North and the South, then you need them to compete against each other immediately, which I know we're doing this upcoming week. I think that an argument could be made to have that right off the bat, like week 1, that I'm kind of here for, honestly. Because again, I think the system it's successful for me if fans root against LTA South or North, depending on what their allegiance is when they play against them. Like you're going to root for the LTA North teams or the South teams. And like, it's a rivalry. And when you go international, you root for like each. Like that's your secondary team, right? I think that is the fandom that we want to encourage to actually make this work. And I think that split 1 somewhat does achieve that. I think that if you go hard and do a shotgun event, then it could also help achieve that. Maybe a little bit better since it helps like doing it from week 1. So that's where I'm at with this. I thought that's kind of like what you're going to go after.
David, have you been paying attention to how late LEC and LTA South broadcasts have been going?
Not LTA South, but LEC, yes.
Because so LTA South, from my understanding, has also been going pretty late, and I think that is like an overlooked topic in all of this, which is previously especially last year. I believe LTA South, well, at the time CBLOL, would raid the LCS, but also LEC would. And like there was a pretty good moment where, you know, the LEC broadcast would end normally, I think, during like halfway through game one. Often you'd get this big raid and then viewership would be up. Now we can all debate whether or not like LCS should have had like a bunch of viewership reporting from like raids from other regions and how valuable are those viewers and if are any of them, whatever. But when we're comparing this year's numbers to last year's numbers, I think that that's like a big topic that people are missing, which is like, hey, we're like the Super Bowl was on, and it's like, okay, that's maybe not great, but also beyond the Super Bowl, there's also a competing League of Legends competitive product that is technically the same region as the one that we're in, and it's broadcasting at the same time. So like, I think that there are many reasons why viewership is down. I was not a fan of the brand change. I still think it was a mistake, and I agree with you that the marketing has not been fantastic. But I don't. It feels a little bit like a hissy fit to be like, well, fine, just merge the Brazil region in and give, you know, or we'll go to them. Like, who cares? The league is dead. Like, at that point in time, you know, I think it's time to just truly give up and stop calling it a Hotline League and making reels about it or TikToks about it, because it's like it sounds like you've just given it up entirely. So then why?
No, I haven't. I'm just doing it for the sake of the take. Because I mean, I think you know more than anybody that I'm still gonna keep hosting watch parties and still doing all the shit that I'm still doing now. That doesn't change. Even if I do think that they would have been better off just having the combined league from the jump.
David, I'm gonna make this personal for a second. You gotta keep like, you are the cheerleader for the group.
You can still stop it, Travis.
You're the cheerleader for the group. You can't call in with takes that you don't even necessarily believe in that feel extra doomer. You know, like whatever you say at the end of your take, LTA is dead or whatever, or like it's dead anyway. Like that's only hastening the end of this thing. You know, you got to at least like,
no, because both things can be true at the same time. Both things can be true at the same time. There can be a future for North America and a different system that I believe works better than what has been implemented right now. I can be doomer on the system that we are currently in while still optimistic for the future of North America as a whole.
It doesn't sound like
those two can be independently true.
Fucking merge Brazil with us already and get it done with, you know? Like that doesn't sound
because it's better than the current system. That doesn't mean that I have lacked faith in North America, but it means that I have zero faith in how the LTA North is currently structured and marketed.
I don't think that we've seen the current system like actually interact to the fullest yet. And also, I don't think that forcing 8 teams to, or however big the league would be, to come here and relocate would be good for those teams that have to transfer either this quickly. So, go Kelby.
Can I say something bold and controversial?
Oh, we don't do that on the shows. Everyone can tell.
I kind of like the format right now. I'm not saying it was marketed well, for sure. The only issue I have is the best of 1 seeding matches like same day at the end. And I'm not saying like logistically it was easy, you know, because like players got to fly to it and stuff like that. It just feels very anticlimactic to have your final matches be like best of 1 for seeding or whatever.
Yeah, I agree.
But I do think, David, it is just crazy to be like, yo, Brazil, you guys are coming here, all your teams, you know. I think it's fine being separate. I think just think it's a marketing issue, and you need to have faith in Riot to do a better job there. And also, like, if numbers are down, it's just like it's not all on Riot. You know what I mean?
I had to listen to John Needham have an interview with Travis, 2022, saying that they fail at sports marketing, and 3 years later, we're still watching them fail at sports marketing. So
you know what I will,
if I lack the faith.
You know what I will say in your defense, David? So and Travis knows this, I've been going to LCS, LTA for a long time. And I make the effort to show up in person. All right? Now, I was in the studio yesterday.
Oh, don't do this to Mark. Is this what you're going to do?
If I could continue, that would be great.
Whatever.
I was in the studio yesterday. You know, I drove all the way from Glendale out to Santa Monica during the middle of the Super Bowl to come to these matches. And you know what I found out? The commissioner was not even
Kelby's
there.
making a joke. Mark is there all the time. He's like, dude, for years, like the Riot leadership just checked out on attending
You don't have
the
the faith in me
especially
to get
when
the
it was on
joke
the
across
weekend.
at the end and disclose.
Mark is actually, yeah. I feel bad for Mark in this situation because the internet is so dramatic that they're going to believe you.
Facts of the matter was, I was there. The commissioner was not. They went home. Who knows what for? But I was there to enjoy some LTA, and it was just disappointing to me that Mark Zimmerman was not there to support the product in person.
I feel like the reason he hasn't replied to your message in the group chat is because he probably finds it annoying. And then you followed it up with it again, and now you're using my live show platform to continue this joke with Mark.
At some point, he's got to respond in this group chat.
Mark was there for almost the entire day. He left halfway through the last game because he's going to Brazil this week.
Yeah.
Got him.
All right. Anyway, back on topic. In this, what is already going to be an incredibly long show that Kelby's derailing for the sake of a joke.
Sorry.
He's going to try it again. I disagree, David, with your take. I don't think it was a good idea to merge the regions. I think the biggest issue that they did was take away the brand, and that's been the bigger problem, plus the lack of proper marketing. I actually agree with Kelby that the format has been pretty cool. I just wish that the bottom 4 teams had something to do in the next 2 months, and so there's answers to that.
They could try practicing the game, am I right?
They could stream it for everyone else.
Oh, we haven't even talked about stream scrims on this episode. Okay. David, anything you want to shout out here at the end?
Just shout out to the NA faithful out there. Keep tuning in each and every week. Keep repping the best team in North American League of Legends. 100 Thieves, Riot. If you had any shred of intelligence left on you, you would keep them in the league as a non-equity partner. You don't need them to pay $10 million to keep them as a good partner in the league. Ask any of your Valorant teams. You do not charge a fee, yet keep them there. Reduce the stipend, do whatever you want to do in that front, but do not, under any circumstances, bring somebody else inferior to 100 Thieves into this league. We deserve to be here.
That's a whole nother topic that you just opened up there, but I'm going to let it slide on by.
Wait, so why should the other teams have to pay? And
here we go.
What? They don't have to. Riot can give them their money back if they truly want. Make everybody a non-equity long-term partner.
You know what? Riot should just give everyone everything for free. Free spots, free skins, free champions.
You think that Dignitas deserves to get their money back?
Riot should give me a free
You
house.
mean the organization that I can't even search on YouTube without looking into a Swedish non-equity? I think we should be paying them to change their name.
Thanks so much, David, for the call. We'll catch you later.
I love David, dude.
Oh, this episode's exhausting. Okay.
Don't worry, Travis.
Great time.
We got more. We're going to talk about some games.
You know what isn't exhausting is President's Day weekend coming up. And you know what else is happening during President's Day weekend? Well, it's not officially announced yet, but they've told me I can tease it a little bit. NZXT's President's Day sale. It's happening February 14th to the 17th, and my code is stackable with the discounts that you're going to be getting, which is Travis5. You'll get an additional 5% off all the deals that they're going to be seeing over there. I will not, I don't think I have permission yet to leak the deals specifically. But, you know what? Actually, bit of breaking news right now. The dates have been extended a little bit. You might start looking as soon as the 12th. Which is, I believe, Wednesday on the NZXT website to see the different deals that are happening. So if you're listening to this later on, head on over to NZXT. If you do so, please use the link in the description of the YouTube video. That'll be really, really helpful if you do. It'll land you on my page, and you can click through to go see all the deals that they have for President's Day. But also make sure that you're using code Travis5 to save an additional 5%. It is really cool that they do these stacking discounts. That's something that normally you don't really get with different companies that are doing sales. Normally you can't combine the stuff, but it's something that's cool that they are doing for President's Day sale in this coming week. So again, thank you so much to NZXT for sponsoring the show. It's been really great to have them be a partner. They are currently our longest standing sponsor, and I really appreciate all the support that they've given us. And I know people have been keeping an eye out for the 5090s. I think they're currently sold out on their site. The 5090s and 5080s, those are hard to come by, but I know they've been, they will get those restocked as well. So thanks everyone for listening to my NZXT shout out here, and thank you NZXT for sponsoring the show. All right, on to the next crazy take. This is gonna be the longest episode we've had in a while.
All right, let's go.
Thank you to Doc24 and Fly in Mom 1. Thank you everybody for the subs. Really appreciate all of the subs and support. I'll be hanging out on stream afterwards for a little bit if people want to hang out and talk about stuff. Maybe I'll keep arguing with the chat about Hextech Chests. I'm worried about the YouTube comments. I'm going to get roasted. All right. Well, Kelby's still going. Kelby, what are you playing lately?
Metaphor Refantasio.
You enjoying it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, liking it a lot. Unlike Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
Which you did not like.
Yeah.
God is here. God, where are you calling from?
Heaven.
Well, Las Vegas wouldn't be called heaven, but it's home.
Calling from Las Vegas. What do you want to talk about on the show?
God is in Sin City right now.
Yeah. Pretty opposite of Evan. But my take is that connected to what was said by David of Dignitas, but that's the only thing that's connected. But I think Dignitas should make Srtty their franchise player. And like by franchise player, I mean like how, like I guess iconic players, like how like Blabber is C9, and he's been with C9 for 6 years, and Core JJ actually has been with TL for 6 years. But I think like APA is kind of like their icon, but whatever. I just think they should keep Srtty as their like icon player. And to talk about like his most recent games this Sunday, yeah, I'll be honest, he's got kind of bothered by Whippo, but that's okay. He's a rookie. And so like what I'm trying to argue here is that like it's in Dig's best interest to keep him, not just a year, hopefully not just 2 years. Hope he's 6 around to stay. So let's talk about like what Srtty like provides, like in a publicity point of view. All right, so like right now. Oh, sorry.
No. Continue.
Okay.
I just
like right now on like Twitch right now, Srtty has 17.7 thousand followers, which is a lot higher than someone who has been to the Quarters of Worlds and has been with the LCS for a long time.
What is his Twitch handle?
Oh, it's like Srtty lol.
Okay.
And then not only Palafox, but also Fudge, who is significantly more popular than Srtty, or not Srtty, Palafox, but has also been longer in the league than Srtty. So he already has a lot of eyes on him, just as a rookie.
But he doesn't use a webcam when he streams. Why don't any of these pro players stream with webcam? The Palafox the other day, I rated him. He also didn't have a webcam on, and then he tried to turn it on, and he literally was just, his head was sideways. He could not fix the webcam. He would turn the camera with the webcam sideways, and then it, like a phone, it would auto adjust again so that he would continually be horizontal in the image. So I don't know. Anyway, I agree with this if Srtty streams with webcam. But anyway, continue.
All right. Yeah. So he's. So there's a lot of. Sorry, let me go back. So he's got a lot of eyes on him, and like from interviews and just like how he's been, like he talked on like the mic before and stuff like that. He has a lot of confidence, and I think a lot of people enjoy that. I mean, I do. I think that a rookie that has a lot of confidence that he knows what he's good at. Like for example, in their first, what he talked about in like the TL matchup, he said he like respected Impact, but he understood that he was better in Impact in the things that he was good in.
So it sounds like you're mostly saying like, hey, he's like a decent player who with a good personality, and like has built a following for himself, and like that is rare these days in the LTA, and that is like something that a team like Dig should seize on the opportunity on.
How familiar were you with Srtty before he started playing for Dig? Out of curiosity.
So like, I mean, familiar with him, like haven't even been familiar with Pro League of Legends for more than 8 months, but I think I took a liking to him pretty quickly, just because of personality wise. And from
were you aware of him before he was playing for Dig, or like did you know about his anything in solo queue or like his NACL play, anything like that, or is this just like, wow, like I saw him this last couple weeks and I know they're out, but I think they should invest in him?
I know that he was an understudy of the top 2 mid laners right now of Impact and Bwipo, and he got the highest LP in solo queue, I think, in NA, but I don't know. Like I think it just could be ever.
Yep.
And he took because I did watch his like the Dignitas video of him. He I think he said he took a completely dog shit EG Academy team from like last place to finals. I'm guessing he didn't win.
They lost, but yeah, he was a big part of turning that team around.
Yeah, so that's basically what I've heard secondhand, because I didn't watch any of those, but I've heard from other people who did watch that or interacted with that.
Cubby.
And sorry.
No, that's okay. I want to make sure that we have time to discuss your take. Cubby, first off, who stays in the LTA longer, Dignitas or Srtty?
Well, considering that Dignitas has never moved,
they moved. They were out for a while. They came back in franchise.
Honestly, I do think Srtty. I feel like Srtty like has potential to have a job here and like for a long time. And I found this call interesting because I don't think Srtty actually had like a fantastic debut by any means. I know that this past week was rough. His debut for me actually, it's been a little bit different than what I was expecting. He's actually not laning too well. Like he's gotten punished at a couple points where he didn't exactly respect enemy jungler that set him behind, but he's made really big plays to actually get his team back in the game with some TPs that have been proactive, which is really good for a rookie. And I do think that, like, even though his lanes haven't gone as well, he's shown moments where he does have the hands and has fought pretty well. So I said going into the season, I thought that Srtty was the best prospect that Dignitas has ever gotten their hands on in past iterations of the LCS in the off seasons, with buyouts being attached to academy players, with just money being in the tank for some of the other teams, that a player like Srtty would have never even ended up on Dignitas as an org. And the fact they got him, I thought this is the best prospect that they've ever had. So I find it interesting that even when he's not performing that well, just based on like what you've seen inside and outside the game, that people want Dig to continue to invest in this player, which I find interesting. I agree. I think that Srtty needs to play a bit better, and he will. But I have a lot of confidence in him to be good. So, yeah.
Yeah, I would guess. God and Cubby, you guys are more dialed into this than I am. Where if you were a GM, where would you rank Srtty on like off-season targets compared to other NA mid laners from like a rank perspective?
So he's a top laner.
Yeah, so I said. Oh, sorry. What did I say?
Yeah. No, you said mid, but that's fine.
Okay, top laner. Sorry, my bad.
Yeah. Personally, I mean, it kind of depends on what your team needs, right? Because obviously, Impact and Bwipo are probably they weren't moving. So like, I'm not even going to consider them targets in this just because they were locked, even though I know that FlyQuest were playing around with like getting JoJo top and then splitting time with Bwipo, or like having Bwipo coach, stuff like that, right? I never heard Impact was moving. I thought, I'm just going to take Impact out of the conversation completely. Honestly, for me, Srtty probably would have been number one, just given the fact that he is a rookie. He's not going to be the best player day one, but for me as a GM, like if I can afford to invest in a player in that role, I would invest in him. Whenever I was asked, at least for promotions, like who should get promoted, it was Yuji, Srtty, Shaden, Xu. Like those were the 4 players I always said, like these guys can play at LCS, be at LCS level, and they're gonna be fine. I thought Srtty and Yuji had the most upside out of those 4. So for me, they would have been the top targets of the offseason if I'm looking for someone to, at least like for rookies, like someone who I think I can invest in, because I think that those guys would be strong day one LTA players, like at least middle of the pack with a lot of upside.
Right. Okay. So if Srtty is the number 1 perspective top lane talent, what do you think are the odds that he stays on Dignitas?
This is exactly, Kelby's going exactly where I was thinking.
And like for me though, like if you are Dignitas in a way, like given just how the money is in this league, I've made a few comparisons like F1 and the Paddock. I think that a success story for Dignitas here would be to move Srtty up orgs if they aren't able to hold on to him. Because like thinking back to Immortals, I felt like Immortals' most successful player was Revenge, right? And the success for Revenge was the fact that he moved on and moved out. And if you are that team in the LCS, like just because of budget and where you're at in the Paddock, or like usually the standings, right, the rankings, you're not going to have access to the top talent. So you do have to find ways to take risks, develop, and actually promote. And if you're able to do that, more players will want to play there, right? Because they can see you moving up. That's why players took opportunities at TLA or TLC, right, their secondary team, over opportunities with Immortals, because like you are, or bottom tier LCS teams, because you're going to get paid similarly. Your opportunity to move up on a good team is good, and also you're going to learn more to move up like overall, right? I think that it would be a success story if Dig were to get him to a team like TL, like FlyQuest, or C9 in the long run, because then Dig could be like, hey, like we understand that at the moment we're not able to compete with the top. We're going to try our best to compete with the top. I think that Srtty, if they can hold on to him and he keeps on performing, that's great. But also if they move him up, that can make it more another reason for players to actually go compete for you. Because even though you aren't a top org, if you can get people to being a top org, that does show value in the market, right?
All right. So you think the Dignitas narrative in the LTA should be that they're a farm system for teams that are actually trying to compete?
I mean, I think that at least with Immortals in the old school LCS, I thought that that's where they should have been, and I actually really respected the Kelby build, even if it didn't work.
So you think they should try and be like Immortals in the old LCS?
No, he was saying Immortals didn't do this.
Okay.
He was saying
Immortals tried.
Like,
okay. They should be a more successful version of the old Immortals.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
Oh, can I chime in here a bit?
Oh, absolutely, God. Tell me what you think.
All right. I will say that currently their brand is even below what even you're insinuating if it's just a joke. I think Dig's brand is even worse than that right now. So
yeah,
any move up is a good move because it's a move up. So from what we know right now, actually, I watched an interview from and Srtty said himself that Disguised and Dignitas were looking at the exact same players, and Disguised actually Disguised had an upper hand inherently because Srtty preferred their brand identity over the Dignitas. But it was like a feats of strength type of thing in League, where it's like one team had to do 2 out of 3 things to get him, basically. The 3 things is like he told that his 3 things were like brand identity, which Disguise got immediately because he just preferred them. Whichever team would be willing to spend more money, and whichever team he thought, from his perspective, had the better roster, and obviously chance of make it higher in the ranking.
Right.
And what Dig did, he said, obviously they paid him more money, but they gave Srtty a lot of influence in their draft making. And I don't know, I know in the interview with Rigby, who was shown in the past to be really good with rookies, so their brand identity is to improve rookies. Rigby being a coach there is pretty good.
Can I cut in here real quick and just say that just from what I know behind the scenes and even talking with Srtty, Rigby was a part of the reason why he chose Dig, just the experience with EG and respect for Rigby. So yeah, that definitely, in terms of feats of strength, that was a factor as to why he went to Dig.
Yeah.
Overall.
And God, I would say as well, as a player agent active in the space, I think I would agree with you entirely with regards to how Srtty is evaluating potential teams, their brand strength, how much are they going to pay me, how good's the roster going to be. I would even venture so far as to say those 3 evaluation criteria very well may never change for Srtty. The problem is, as he becomes available and in demand in the market, you have to compete with more than just Disguise if we think that he's the number 1 top lane prospect that a GM would be interested in.
Mm-hmm.
As a result, if you are Dig and you want to make him a franchise player, it is about not just having him now, but when he becomes available, retaining him, and it's not just him. Because even if, as you discussed, they decide to pay him a lot, and the market for the player salaries has come down a ton, right? So it's not as huge a stretch anymore for Dig to like match a top of market offer, but you then need to do it with the rest of the roster so that Dig can go back to him and say, we will be competing with FlyQuest, with Team Liquid, with C9, or at least give him the idea that it is possible, right? Which the reason I'm bagging on Dig is just because in all of the years that I have seen them operating as an org in this league, that has not been their motivation. That has not what has been communicated to me in the market. So they would have to actively say, "Hey, we're not going to Immortals it. We're going to try."
There was a stat a couple of weeks ago.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say there was a stat a couple of weeks ago from a caller who called in who said, I think it was top 4, Kelby. I forget what it was, but it was that Dignitas has not made top 4 in so long that Good Game University made top 4 in the LCS more recently.
So they've never made top 4.
That's a throwback.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they've never made a finals weekend.
In LCS?
I think it was top. Was it finals or was it top 4?
With Scar and Cutie and all those guys, they had to have had like a top placement way back in the day, right?
Yeah, that was before LCS.
No, Scar and Cutie played in the LCS.
Yeah.
No, but like the top placements they had were before LCS. Yeah. They didn't have any in LCS.
Oh yeah. Like season 2 Worlds qualifier, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, they beat CLG, I think.
Yeah, I mean Scar was considered best mid back then.
Anywho,
and he was good, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I hope that Srtty sticks around in the LTA. I'll be honest, God, if he does, I hope it's not for Dig. I agree with Kelby that Dig has not done much to show me they were serious. In fact, sadly, the moment that it felt like they were most serious was their roster that they put together last year, and they just weren't able to pull it off with that. So
I will push back on that actually.
Okay.
I think that in a way, yes, but that is also what Dig was able to get within the market and wasn't a long-term plan. I actually think that they are able to have... You were a skeptic
of that, right?
What's up?
You were a skeptic of that roster.
Well, I mean, I just wasn't a Speaker fan, frankly. And I also just didn't know who would carry outside of Sven.
Oh, you like Sven a lot, I guess.
Yeah, no, I do like Sven a lot. But
it's a joke.
Yeah.
Speaker hates
oh, okay.
It's like a Drake Kendrick thing, I think. Is that the reference I should be making in 2025?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that's definitely a massive beef. For sure. That's very true, Travis.
Did I kind of eat you up with that?
Yeah, I appreciate you trying to keep the show be controversial, and make this one spicy when it's not.
Yeah.
You are wasting God's time right now.
True. What I will say is I think that if Dig, if there was any player that they were to have to actually build a franchise around and try and push to actually make a finals weekend, I do think that Srtty was a good start. I thought a Sven team could have worked, and I thought that was a good get. If they kept him, I think that would have been a win. Obviously, Sven moved up the paddock into C9, if we're going to keep on using those terms. But yeah, I mean, if Dig wants any chance to actually turn around a sentiment that I very much agree with you on, Travis, then building around Srtty and trying to keep him, actually have competitive teams with him, I think is the best way that they can actually move up. I thought Srtty's a great get. So this is a chance for Dig to turn things around. I agree with you historically, but if they were to continue to develop him, hold on to this core, I actually think it's a good core that can compete and improve in the LCS. And I've said a lot on Twitter and here that I think that Dig is the bottom 4 team that's most likely to compete with the top 4, and I still feel that way with the roster they have. So, yeah.
I think the best core in the LTA is the bot lane of Team Liquid.
Next, we got to move on, Travis.
All right,
God,
is this
thanks so much for the call. Anything you want to shout out here at the end?
Yeah, actually, I gotta shout out to Cubby because I actually
Holy Spirit.
I watched your like I don't even Rift like repair shop whatever.
Oh yeah, the show
and I
with
do
Razman?
remember.
Yeah,
and I do remember Srtty was number 3 out of outside, which was and the top 2 are the top 2 right now. So, and I have to shout out like the Super Cayman Rocks. He's like a YouTuber that I watch that covers like all the leagues. Very easy way to digest everything without spending 8 hours a day watching league games. So yeah.
Nice. Thanks so much for the call, God. Really appreciate it. Love what you've done for the planet, and we'll catch you next time.
I see.
All right. We've got another caller, and then a break, and then a final call. Maybe 2 final calls.
God is real. And not even he can make Dignitas a winner.
Just got complimented by God. No big deal. Moving on.
I do like that Kelby were scolding us for making jokes about Drake and Kendrick and being like, come on, we're wasting this guy's time. Whenever you went on
it was just so slow.
A 5-minute adventure around, I went to the LTA this weekend, and guess
5 minutes?
Really care about the
Come
LTA.
on.
I was there in person.
There's a recording
Guess
of this.
who wasn't there? Blah, 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 blah. All right, Tom is here. Tom, where are you calling from?
I'm calling from a little bit north of Portland, Oregon, rather than saying La Center, Washington.
Nice. Well, what do you want to talk about on the show?
Hi. So, yeah, I'm a little fired up on this one because I think it might be more of a shitting on Reddit take than anything else, but we're going to get... The actual take is, verbatim, APA's Azir performance versus Fly was fine. The fan base is engaging in a melodramatic circle jerk of an old reliable lightning rod for discontentment.
Okay, did you watch the game?
Yes, I did. I actually have a list of every ult he used in the entire game here.
For the first time in Hotline League ever, I'd love to pull up the VOD. After Busio, and by the way, I messaged Busio after the game. It was a great attempt. The flash ult over the wall. But after that moment, APA, I think his mouse disconnected. He walked a little north, okay? Maybe threw the game in a way so spectacular I've not seen in many days. I believe
people haven't seen this. They should go watch. And I wish we had like a live cam on Umpty.
Is there a timestamp?
Yeah.
Did you see those Azir ults?
Yes, some of them were excellent. Some of them were left something to be desired.
Sure.
So
okay, what do you think was the turning point in that game for Team Liquid?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
What was the turning point in that game by your estimation for Team Liquid? Why did they lose?
Against Team Liquid? Well, that would be the play at 28. I think this is going to be 28. No, 28-15 was good. That would probably be the play around 30 minutes. Where are we? So we're talking about the river fight here, where Umpty's initially caught on Skarner. He gets chased down.
You said
28-15? No, 28-15. Well, for Team Liquid to get pole position in the game to be doing well, that was 28-15, that fight, which was an excellent fight by APA's Azir there. The one at 32 minutes was where it would turn against Team Liquid, and yes, that one was already a scuffed fight to some degree. APA had a good ult there to create space for he and Yon to get firing position. It actually walled off 2 entrances in the jungle and left them in the blue pit. However, then I think what you're referencing there, he absolutely sent it into the river with still the Casio ult up, everything.
There's no defending that, so we can move on.
It was horrific.
Yeah.
Now, I don't watch a ton of League of Legends anymore. Did they rework Azir so that he's like a frontline tank now? Did I miss that?
A little bit. So they reverted him to what old Azir was. So that that means that you W
Cubby,
max.
It's a fucking rhetorical question, okay?
All right, thanks, Kelby.
Well, and I'm actually glad you're pushing back this much on it, because this is something of obviously, Kelby, you're
I'm with Reddit.
much more well versed in league competitive play than I am.
Not say that.
When we were watching the draft, I was analyzing it for Travis based on TFT champions and who I thought had better synergies.
And then he kept doing it to the extent that I eventually just left in the middle of the game.
Did the higher cost team win?
Well, FlyQuest had 4 TFT champions and Team Liquid only had 1. So I thought, and they had some decent synergy, so I thought they were going to win.
Higher cost team won.
Anyways,
I guess
sorry, continue.
This is kind of the point here, though, is I think as fans, we tend to cling on to it. Gosh, and this is, yes, it was an extremely bad play there, and he had another bad team fight in the final team fight of the game as well. But I think as fans, we tend to cling on to these low-hanging fruit of these things that look really horrific and egregious when things are done in the moment as snap decisions. And also, we tend to, when we see a play like that, we tend to disregard all of the positives from that happened in the game as well. And of course, APA is a pro player. He should be held to a high standard here. Yeah. That was an egregious play. But you have something like the 28-15 fight earlier in the game, where he gets a triple kill. He gets the engage to start the fight, which all throughout that game, he was starting off fights. You had a whiffed arrow from Yawn at, I think it was 17 minutes? No, that was 19 minutes, 30 seconds. You have a whiffed arrow from Yawn that he catches Masu just right on the side of the Azir wall to tip him into the perfect position. You have at 23-15, he follows up on an arrow from Yawn and puts Inspired into an angle where he has no possibility of an escape with the Azir wall. And then again at 28-15, you have a perfectly played fight on the Azir. So it's interesting to me because he clearly is proficient to a high degree on the champion, but I think it's something that's plagued APA throughout his whole career is he tends to overextend and get overly ambitious in the middle of fights. It's absolutely something to work on, but I wouldn't say that I listed off a bunch of the top comments on Reddit, which were just absolutely shitting on his Azir, like, TL1 Spring because Azir was disabled for playoffs and I'll die on that hill. Things like that. It's like...
Yeah, that's certainly a little hyperbolic for sure.
Yeah,
I agree that that's a circle jerk. Like, the one thing that I'll agree with is I think the APA Azir circle jerk is real, and I don't agree with it. In terms of this game, I mean, the issue is, like, even if he plays the 28-15 fight well, which, like, you're talking about, which I think he played it okay, I actually thought that, like, Core and Impact's really smart by clearing the landing for him. Like, yes, he does go in early, and it puts him in a weird spot, but I thought that, like, there were a couple clicks or, like, moves he could have made to maybe space the Mbessa and Liv. I thought, like, the reaction in the back half of the fight was obviously good. And the issue is, like, it's League of Legends, right? It's like, if you make that good play and then the next play you make is, like, absolutely game-losing, then that play doesn't matter, right? And he made 2 game-losing plays. He's not the only one that deserves flame. I thought that Umti had a couple, like, very egregious moments as well. And he has not had a good start to the split. And so I think that is also very fair criticism. I think that the dog pile on the APA is just like, yeah, if you're a carry, you can't send it and die like that in games like this. And especially given, like, the draft that you're playing into Cassio and Corki, you have like a lot of range advantage as carries on TL. So if you're sending it in like that and then going to put yourself in a really bad spot to not get anything, like, that's extra bad, just given how I think these comps should play. And you have Ashe, Azir, Renata. Like, there is a world where you can and have to space FlyQuest and their carries later on because you can't go to war against a Cassio Corki. You will lose. So for me, it was like, yes, it was bad. Also, it was against what the team wanted to do. Maybe the call was that TL felt like they were outscaled, which I think that the game on the scoreboard is more FlyQuest favor than what the scoreboard looks like, even against a Mountain Soul, and even, like, FlyQuest being close in gold, just given the champs they have. Yeah. Like, for me, Cassio ruins this comp. And if Cassio is allowed to play and function, then like Cassio is the game defining thing in the game. And for me, like the few moments that APA and TL sent it, it wasn't to focus or harass Cassio. I think that you need to abuse space in order to win this game against the Cassio. And so like for me, the approach was wrong as well as the execution. So I do think that there is a real circle jerk against APA Azir that I don't agree with, but I can't really use this game or what was in this game to defend that.
Watching the game, to me, and like obviously, Kelby, you have a much better understanding of the game at a high level than I do. It felt very much to me like TL had the better and easier to execute team fighting comp, but FlyQuest had the better team fighting players.
Yes, they do, but they get outscaled. That's like just the one caveat I'd add.
TL gets outscaled. That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And I agree with what you said with regards to like the way that League is just like once you get past a certain minute mark, if you make a team fight losing play, like the game just ends.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's great if you do everything right up until that point, but like even Umpty dragging Busio into a bunch of other TL players and his ult for free, that's a pretty bad play for sure, but it doesn't end the game there. And then FlyQuest threw it back. It was kind of just a sloppy match in general.
It was so close for sure.
But you just like, you know, I don't see Quad Quid making those mistakes. APA reminds me a lot of MNS sometimes, where it's like, well, it's just like you're sometimes this guy is just like carrying the game, and sometimes this guy is just like he ints and it's bad. But I feel like APA and Umpty are the things where I'm like, ooh, this is where TL got gapped, or this is like the difference in TL for a loss.
I definitely think APA is like a high risk, high reward player. Like he's definitely going to play to make the big plays, and then obviously when those plays don't go well, they often look really bad. But yeah, I don't know.
I'm okay with that too. If it's like as long as there's like more good than bad. Like I know that Srtty had a pretty ugly series against FlyQuest and was caught out like trying to make plays at a couple points. Didn't work out. Like he got capped. I think that the Camille game was like kind of unforgivable. But overall, like sometimes the biggest griefers are good players. I cannot like how much did we watch JoJo just like fucking run it down and then still be great at many points, right? As long as it's net positive, I'm okay with it. I also think that it's part of the learning experience. Like you have to make mistakes to learn sometimes.
Dude, we used to have the most passive mid laners in North America. I remember interviewing Jizuki in 2020 and him just being like, yeah, it's so boring because everybody just wants to sit underneath tower and farm. And so I've been really happy that in the last couple of years we've had a lot more players that are willing to take risks. But yes, sometimes they end up getting called out on Reddit for looking like a goofball.
Yeah, I do think there's a real circle jerk against APA Azir. I can't use this game to defend him. So
now
I thought he played a really good Azir game earlier, actually. Like week 1. He had a really good Azir game.
We have somebody in chat who, you know, possibly ESL, who says, named Shinwinter, who says, what is circle jerk? So Kelby, could you explain what a circle jerk is?
No. Look it up. Urban Dictionary.
All right. Tom, thanks so much for the call. I don't know if there's anything you want to add before I give you your shout outs.
It's just funny that I actually had a few things in my notes here that you guys mentioned in there. So I agree with most everything that was said. Honestly, I just wanted to give a little bit of criticism to Reddit for using like shitty reductive reasoning rather than actually critiquing the entire game on the whole.
I mean, multiple people have made entire like content series out of Reddit doing exactly what you just talked about, right?
But I fucking missed the blame game, man.
Yeah. Exactly. All right. Anyway, anything you want to shout out?
Yes. Yeah, I'd like to shout out a little tournament community that my friend Spencer hosts called the Tournament Kingdom. I call games for them for fun like every couple months or so. He has an ARAM tournament coming up pretty soon, so that'll be fun. And also shout out to you guys. I've been watching and listening for like 8 years now, since I was in college, and I'm 32. And I hate saying that number.
Nice.
Also, cap for Kobe.
Yeah, that's a throwback. Bye. All right. We're going to take one quick break here to talk about our returning sponsor for this episode. It's none other than PrizePicks. If you don't know about PrizePicks, it's the best place to win cash while watching sports or esports in our case. They have a really cool offer if you sign up through us, which is that PrizePicks will give you $50 when you play your first $5 lineup. Win or lose, you'll get $50 for just playing. The app is really easy to use. To create a lineup, all you need to do is pick more or less on a few player stats. I'm going to break from the little thing that I'm reading here right now to explain a little bit about how this works, because I've seen people get confused by it. Basically, when you decide to play PrizePicks, if you use code Travis, first off, it's incredibly helpful. It's arguably the best way to support me these days. You go in and you choose like a series of things that you think are going to happen, and you pick more or less. So, for instance, you might say, "Oh, I read Reddit, and APA sucks. I think he's going to get less than 7 kills across this series of games," or something along those lines. And at the same time, you might say, "But I think on that day that I don't know, Bwippo has been really popping off lately. I think he's going to get more than this number of assists." Or maybe Bwippo is, he's a high volatile player, so he's going to get more than this number of deaths. So what you're doing in that moment is you are trying to make a prediction on how you think these things are going to go. And so that's what, that's basically the whole essence of playing PrizePicks, is that you are trying to say, hey, how do I think that this is going to go? I think it'll be more than this. I think it'll be less than this, based off of how I've been seeing things go recently, or whatever methodology you want to use. So back to this. You can play PrizePicks in over 40 states, which includes California and Texas. So again, it's really great that they are returning to us and supporting us. We're going to do, if you missed it during Worlds, Cubby, myself, and a couple of friends did a prediction show where a couple of days, usually sometimes right before the day before the game, we would go through, or matches, we would go through and do a prediction show where everybody would kind of create their own little lineups, and we would track to see how well everybody was doing over the course of all of our episodes. It's really fun. Even if you don't play PrizePicks, it might be fun for you to sort of see, like, hey, who's going to get their predictions right? Who's going to get their predictions wrong? And what is their methodology on that? Is Cubby correct on, how Srtty is going to do over these games, as somebody who's very familiar with him? So that's kind of a fun thing that we're doing. But it is great to have PrizePicks back, because that show, for instance, wouldn't exist without them. And their support for things like Hotline League is incredible. And if you do decide to give PrizePicks a try, by the way, it's not just esports. You can go play on stuff. Unfortunately, we didn't get a chance to mention this before the what the big game is, how people are saying it in these contexts. But you can go play all sorts of different stuff, like the NBA and whatever you're into on the sports front. But also, they've got a bunch of esports stuff in there, including obviously League of Legends. But when you do, please use the link, which is in the description of the YouTube thing. Also, I think it looks like Numi's been posting it already in the chat. And then also, when you do sign up, you can use code Travis, and doing both those things ensures that we will get credit for you signing up, which has some pretty good implications for us. So it's a great way to support us. If you feel like you can do this in a responsible way, please be sure you can do it responsibly. But if you feel like you can, please go give it a try. Thanks so much to PrizePicks for sponsoring the show. All right. We got one final call. You want to go give them a grab? Okay, great. Thank you to Late Night Arc, about 30 minutes ago, 29 months. Fly Mom over for 7 months. Over on YouTube, I just want to give a double shout out to Zavidar, who about 2 hours ago sent a $20 super chat. Zavidar, you are holding it down for YouTube right now. If anybody else wants to join Zavidar as a supporter of the stream over on YouTube, you can feel free to become a member for as low as $2.99 a month. We got Jamada here. Jamada, where are you calling from?
God save the Kingland, London, England.
Yes.
From across the pond.
What time is it there?
I'm down to be a colony again. How do we sign up?
Real. It is 4:59 a.m.
4:59 a.m. All right. Well, thanks for hanging out at 5 a.m. with us. What do you? Yep. And I like that Kelby made you wait until the end of the episode to pull you. It's very brutal of him. What do you want to talk about on the show?
Yeah, it's less a take. So I'm sorry to kind of veer away from the product model here, but we haven't spoken about EWC, and the announcement that dropped earlier. And
we should probably explain what this is.
Yes.
Do you want to do that?
I suppose I will. Long story short, Riot signed a deal with EWC, and I think it's a 3-year deal. And amongst the deal, if you're familiar with what the Neon deal was with the LEC a few years ago, it's basically that, but seemingly with the entire LOL esports ecosystem.
Esports, or EWC, is Esports World
Riot.
Cup.
Yes, Esports World Cup is EWC. It is a Saudi government. It's hard. It's not really hard to talk about. It's the sports washing stuff that's going on. If you're familiar with it, yeah, they've signed a deal with Riot for the LoL broadcast, Valorant, and TFT for 3 years, and it's also including seemingly advertisement as well, in not just like, you know, a partnership where we see League of Legends and TFT at the EWC itself. It might actually, by the sounds of the deal, be straight up advertisement inside of Riot products.
Yeah, and whenever I saw this, it reminded me a lot of, for folks who watch a lot of Twitch, you might recall that back in June and July of last year, if you were on Twitch as a platform, and you didn't have Twitch Turbo, I guess, you would see a lot of ads for the Esports World Cup, which was there'd be ads of, I think it was sort of the story of a young dude who like was playing and then got himself on stage, kind of like the I don't know, aspirational kind of marketing that we've seen associated with esports for a long time. So I assume these are the types of ads, obviously an assumption, but I expect that these are the types of ads that we will see be running across Riot Games global products for a while.
Yes, and I suppose if I am to have any take here on the matter, it's that I think this has just kind of been a long time coming thing for esports. Unfortunately or fortunately, depending on what your stance is, right? I think that's very much a personal matter for a lot of people. Mm-hmm. But yeah, with the direction that Riot has seemingly gone over the last couple of years, with its Western products in particular, this is kind of the result. And I fear for people who are very passionate about the subject, especially, that the end result realistically is just that the Saudis end up owning League of Legends esports, at the very least the Western products, long term. And I think this is just an additional stepping stone to that goal, basically. Yeah.
When you say that goal, do you think the goal is from the Saudis to they would like to eventually just acquire and own all of the Western LoL esports products, or do you mean it's like a Riot goal, or both?
I would more attribute it to the Saudis just trying to broaden their scope of what they have their hands in, right? Because again, they've got investments everywhere, right? Everywhere you look, they are trying to get involved financially to have a stake or a share in. And I think this is just the correct melting pot for them to be a part of, where the League of Legends products on the Western side of the world are being downsized financially, aren't seeing the same level of backing realistically compared to where we were, pre-COVID. And it's kind of just a good opportunity, really, given what the perceived goal to me, also obviously as someone who works in the industry, but even as a fan, I feel like I would see this. Riot kind of just slowly off-handing and third-partying these products, so it costs them effectively nothing to run, right? They're just kind of in control of, I suppose, at most, how it's handled, because I feel like that is something that Riot would still want to be a part of. But in terms of, production costs, everything that would come with, running an event effectively, they would try to third party off to the Saudis. I could see that being the end goal.
So before we go any further, I do want to say, I already see some people in chat saying like, hey, why do we care about this versus China, blah, blah, blah. Last June, I think it was, I did a video, which is over on my YouTube channel, called Why I Will Not Cover or Watch the Esports World Cup. I'm I would just say if you want to know sort of the background on why I personally chose that and where I draw my lines on certain things and why, that video is worth watching. I don't want to spend like the next 5 minutes explaining my stance on all this stuff, or trying to explain to people like, hey, why like the whataboutism, arguments are maybe annoying. But just go check it out if you want. That's sort of my answer.
And I also just kind of want to also preface and say, no one here, like, you don't have to state your opinions or your stances like very strongly, because I know this is a very sensitive topic for a lot of people. So I'm not here to put pressure on anyone, just to make that clear. And I totally agree with you also. The whataboutisms, guys, whataboutisms when it comes to topics like this are just really silly, because people are going to be more passionate about different things, right? And they're going to be clued in about different circumstances going on around the world. They're not going to know about everything. They're not going to be immediately wholeheartedly on one side of an argument. They can be educated and learn and then form their own opinions post. But the whataboutism around this is, I think, a very moot point in this regard, because we're focusing on one thing. Everyone or people who are clued in know what's going on in other places. That's just what it is. And I just wanted to clear the air there, I suppose.
Yeah. So let's center, since you and I have discussed this and other people have already discussed this in the past. Sideshow also has a really great video about it. I saw somebody shout out on the thing. He's part of the reason I was inspired to make mine. Let's focus, I guess, on the topic of, hey, what is the long-term potential of Esports World Cup and Riot's relationship with them and the Saudi Arabian government? I don't know if any of the three of us want to speak up first. I'm happy to go first, but I don't know if either of you have anything.
I would love to hear your take if either Kelby or Kelby doesn't have a particularly strong opinion on it.
I have a very strong opinion. It will just most likely mirror Travis's very similar.
Well, Kelby, your employer, I think, made a pretty strong statement about it on social media.
Yeah, I would march to the end of the earth for that, man. Yep.
Yeah. Do you want to Ludwig clapped back because C9 made it. The C9 lol Twitter account made a joke at Ludwig because Ludwig was saying that I think that it was the Chiefs, right, that did poorly. The Chiefs it was a bad game or something, and C9 LOL said like, oh, this reminds us a little bit of the Shopify game earlier, which is a reference to Ludwig's stake or ownership or whatever association with Shopify. And what did Ludwig say? Like, keep taking your Saudi money or something?
Your Saudi Arabia money.
Yeah.
There was a slight ratio. I don't know if C9 League Twitter has posted since then. But yeah, one of the things I appreciate about Lud is that he and I also recognize from a place of privilege somewhat, can afford to be very principled in where we align ourselves and choose to take money from. And Lud has made the very conscientious and active decision to not support or take any money from Saudi Arabia and their sports washing efforts. And it feels really good to work for somebody who has the same views of you in that regard, especially when you're responsible for their monetization. It's it's just really crazy to me how Neon was 2 years ago, 3 years ago?
It was 2020, so we're actually kind of bordering on
5 years.
Yeah,
okay.
I know it's
Neon was 5 years ago. And there was such a large and
it was visceral.
Yes, unanimous outcry from the community about, and the people who worked within it.
The casters too, yeah.
Yes, the people who worked within it about how this was not okay. And then this is just proof that sports washing is super effective. 5 years later, as a product of, I'm sure in part, the Saudi government's active involvement and investment in all of these different spheres, it is now just like when EWC happened, when this partnership happened, It's just like nobody cares anymore. And it's like it's just a
You're not wrong.
foregone conclusion that it's going to happen. It's
Yeah.
already happened here.
Yep.
It's already happened there. So, I'm just resigned to the fact that it's going to happen here as well. And that's just really sad. I saw a comment that was really hilarious on Lud's subreddit by a random person that was like, Saudi Arabia allows esports to exist. And I was like, oh my fucking God. The fact that somebody could derive that opinion and genuinely believe it is just like mind blowing to me, especially somebody who's existed in the industry as long as they have. It really, really hurts me personally. It reeks of high hypocrisy for groups that so much like to tokenize their support of groups that are actively discriminated against by this government, and then take money from this organization and partner with them. It just rings so fake to me when you're like, oh yeah, we support these communities, we support this and that, and then like, oh yeah, the Saudi government doesn't recognize your rights or is actively discriminating against you. Look, we're just, they're changing. It's okay, guys. It's not.
I think for me, it was really depressing to see that, even though I knew it was coming. Because I agree with you, Jamada, which is that this was kind of inevitable. I think Riot dipped their toes into the water last year. And
I think they dipped their toes in 2020. To be
yes.
To be
yeah.
I meant specifically with EWC, right?
Oh yeah, sure. But like realistically, that it's all coming from the same place, right?
Yeah.
At least that's how I see it / understand it. But sorry, continue. I don't want to.
So, I think that it went over from Riot's perspective. It probably went over great. Like Travis made a video. A couple people called them hypocrites on Reddit. But what do you think has been more distressing to Riot? The reaction to their EWC participation or the Hextech Chest blowback? Like, people are more angry about the lack of Hextech Chests in game. And I like, in one sense, you have to expect people to be upset about things that they're directly affected by. But it's just like, you can't expect, if Riot's willing to tank the hate on Hextech Chests for this month, like, they're not going to give a shit about people being upset about the EWC stuff.
I don't want to derail the conversation, but I really didn't like your stance on the chest earlier. But I won't veer away from this very serious conversation.
You're saying you didn't like my stance?
I didn't like your stance.
Yeah. Well, you should have called it then, Jamada, because we're talking about EWC.
I know. But yeah, I now fear, or fear is maybe the incorrect word, or maybe it's the right word. That whatever what's the word I'm looking for here? Whatever, like, negative feedback, there's a word, but I can't find it right now.
Yeah, blowback or whatever.
Is to come. Blowback, yeah. Is to come. I fear, much like what we saw from EWC. Now, I got it with some individuals that took the deal, but I always think, and maybe this part of me is because obviously I've spent the last 3 or 4 years as a caster, I think it's really silly to get mad at the littler guys in this chain of, like, accepting the deal, because realistically this is a system that Riot has kind of allowed to happen. One, because they're quite literally participating in the deal, but two, from perspectives of teams, production members, everything top down, involved with broadcast work and obviously participation from team side. Yes, teams have maybe a little bit more room to say no to these kind of deals and space and privilege to say no to these deals, but production talent, sometimes they don't. And I think that the focus on who says yes is not strange, because I get it, and I think it's an easy place for people to throw feedback at. But I see way more agitation towards people that say yes to the deal than the actual fact that this thing is happening in the first place sometimes, which I think is a really strange reaction comparatively.
Yeah. No, because people like the idea of like, Quick Shot was against us before, but look, now he's on it. Got him.
For clarity, I'm not talking about people like Quick Shot. I think when the argument is obviously really valid when you step back on a stance that you previously had, right? Quick Shot, obvious example. That said, even contextually, sure, Quick Shot spent over a decade with Riot, so the guy's probably well off, but he was also unemployed for how fucking long, right? You expect the guy to be out of a job and then be offered this fat stack of cash? And just say no.
And I don't even mean to get into like these types of issues, as more just like I'm talking about how, yes, people do seem to care more about that than they do about, like, it's like, well, what do you actually give a shit about? Are you just here to, like, you're excited about dunking on somebody who's like doing this stuff versus
that's where I'm at.
Yeah,
really, with some of the reaction to it.
Kelby, so one thing I wanted to bring up on this was that I think something that is really telling is, and because we're talking about, again, like the relationship with Riot. When you go to the lolesports.com website, you can click news, and within the first couple of articles, there is actually right in the beginning, it says Uber Eats has arrived at the LTA, or Uber has arrived at LTA. If you scroll down just a couple, they don't post many articles here anymore, you'll see Worlds 2024 opening ceremony presented by MasterCard. A couple before that, October 24th, LOL Esports Oppo extend global partnership. When this got announced today, there was no message about it on the LOL Esports channels. There's no post about it on lolesports.com.
It's
like
only
Riot
side, right?
Right, yeah, it was released seemingly only through Esports World Cup stuff. And Riot announces their partnerships, their relationships, they celebrate everything with every other fucking partner. Like Sleeper shows up. I believe I heard a rumor that at one point in time they weren't even paying Riot much. It was just like a partnership for like the fantasy stuff.
It was like
yeah, and they're like, hey, here's our partnership with Sleeper. This they say nothing on, and they just let it. And my stance is like, if you are embarrassed by a partner or relationship that you have, too embarrassed to like talk about it, you should probably not have that relationship.
I think people should maybe do with that advice in real life too, actually.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Sorry.
If it feels wrong to you, it might be wrong.
Like, you're going to just, and it's so funny because it's the shit Riot did with the fucking Hextech Chests, where it's like, everybody logs in one day, the patch is there, and then people are like, wait, what? We don't have Hextech Chests. They never said anything about it because they knew, presumably they knew people would not be happy about it. And then they just head in the stand.
The really cynical part about this, for me, because I've just thought about it, I've connected the dots, and it would be funny because it was kind of in line with what happened last year when the LPL broadcast, English broadcast, got nuked, but they also happened to drop the third part of Arcane on the same day, and it kind of buried the news of the LPL English broadcast getting nuked. And this kind of gives the same vibes with the with the Hextech Chests, and then this seemingly, I mean, what's the difference in time here? Like 3 or 2 days between both these announcements, right? And like the responses, I suppose, which I doubt it's the case this time around, but man, the LPL one looked pretty bad because also the timing on the announcement was really diabolical. But not to tangent too far. Yeah.
Well, I see somebody over on Twitch or on YouTube saying, this is not part of the LoL esports circuit. Did they post about the Red Bull League on their own stuff? So last year that was kind of the Riot statement. 1 second, Jamada, sorry. Well, that was kind of like the Riot stance was like, oh, we don't need to promote this because it's not part of our thing. But it is a sponsor this time. Like, it is a sponsor in the same way that Oppo is a sponsor. Like, Riot, like, this is an official partner and sponsor of like LoL esports and VCT and the TFT stuff. Like, these ads are going to be running when you're watching, presumably, First Stand and MSI and all that stuff. Like, that is the difference. Like, this is an official partner. They're going to have these logos all over their broadcast, and they seemingly won't talk about it.
We're going to be getting live golf ads, like all the rest of the sports watching stuff they got. They fold it all in.
I mean, I will say on that comment as well, I kind of don't agree because the phrasing of this announcement makes it seem like they will be working around the LoL circuit to ensure that there's as little disruption as possible as well. when they actually host their own tournament again.
I will say,
whoever.
Yeah, I will say, like, it's kind of weird that like Riot's been doing this, because I feel like something similar happened with gambling sponsors. Like, teams are allowed to have gambling sponsors now, but it's really limited. Like, you can't do a jersey sponsorship. Like, you can't be on there. And so it is interesting to see Riot kind of take this approach with a couple things where it's like, hey, we're going to take some of the money and limit it. We're still going to take the money, but, like, not go all in and kind of like skirt around it, or also just allow, in this case, I think, for them to continue to make waves in this space, right? By getting more money, because obviously EWC and the Saudis was something that like Riot was already tied in. It just feels like it's more tied in now, right? So yeah, but it's interesting to see them like try to skirt around this, but, like, still involve it, but it's kind of a weird strategy.
Jamada, the end of your take was that you think that it's inevitable that eventually, like, Saudi Arabia or the EWC organization or whatever really start to take over at least Western League of Legends esports. Kelby, what do you think the chances are of that?
Pretty high, sadly.
Yeah.
Can I also? I mean, as long as the parties that are participating in it are complicit, that there is nothing preventing them from doing
it. Yeah.
Ultimately, I think the largest amount of responsibility here falls, and I'm very outspoken about the teams that are participating. Sure. But I think the largest amount of responsibility ultimately falls on, as is the theme of everything that I've talked about for League and Riot, is Riot Games. They are the IP holder. This can only exist if they give explicit permission to this body to have their games at these events. They only exist because Riot allows it to happen and is now profiting, probably to a very significant degree.
Probably enough that they could bring chests back. Just gonna throw that out there. Sorry.
Yeah, there's things I can say that are not really fair, but it's just like it's.
I think that for my stance on this, or my take on the likelihood of it, I think it directly relates to how things continue to go. I mean, if viewership and revenue continues to suffer for these esports products, then I think it's much more likely that we'll see the Esports World Cup or similar entities pick up the reins of LoL Esports and its affiliated products. But I think it really depends, because I think that's the most like Riot will not just drop esports. It's not like League of Legends esports will disappear tomorrow. I just think that if it continues to be a loss leader, and if Riot continues to struggle to make money through it, or it just ends up being like an albatross around the neck of the company, then this is the obvious place it would go, which is kind of depressing.
Yeah, it just seems like from my perspective that for the last couple of years, Riot has not seen esports as the marketing tool that it realistically should be viewed as, in my opinion. Which means, I think it's, when you view it as a marketing tool, you can obviously put kind of arbitrary figures around how much you're willing to invest / lose. But when you don't view it as a marketing tool, it then immediately becomes something that you have to run break even, or as close to break even on, or green, right? Yeah. Or black, I think is like the more appropriate term.
Yeah. To add on to this, I get, it really does. Riot feels like they're running this like they're positioning to sell. Like it's very common in business. You go through your entire balance sheet and say, hey, what's red? Can we get it to green? And like you trim the balance sheet to actually prep to sell to another partner. I will say, like that actually is something that I felt like with Riot
Saudi
for a while.
Arabia.
I mean, I've heard that rumor, so I don't know how valid it is, but I have heard that rumor legitimately.
Yeah, I also I don't want to drag on the convo for too long, because I know this has been a long show. But the other thing as well is that the EWC didn't really do poorly, like for League of Legends specifically in terms of viewership, because the Eastern side of things, not only are they the bulk of the viewership anyway, realistically, culturally, they probably don't give a fuck compared to how we do in the Western regions about this specific thing too.
I don't know how much we do either.
True. Because like you said, right? I think we've had so much.
Do you know who is running our country right now?
all right.
Okay. Hey, man. Look, I don't like that guy either, but I don't know if we should go there.
I'm just saying, like, there is no doubt that culturally, like, things have shifted in terms of regression with regards to political advocacy for discriminated groups. Look who's in the White House. Look at all of the major tech companies rolling back DEI initiatives. Look at acceptance of an announcement like this in the league community, EWC. Like, I think it is very difficult to look at things and say otherwise, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, you're 100% right. One of the crazier things actually is there was a golfer, Bryson DeChambeau, who like joined Live and went up in popularity. And like, he is a weird guy. Like, he's a scientist. Like, he has a weird approach to golf. He is entertaining. His YouTube's huge. Like, he started making a lot of content, but I find it fascinating that he made that decision, something that a lot of golfers were put on blast for, like taking just enormous, like monumental sums of money to go play over there. And that like he did it, and like he's more well-liked afterwards. And I've always kind of kept that in mind, the reaction to that, like as this progresses. And I really appreciate you, Kelby, like bringing up some of the past history of how the community has responded to this and how that's been different in the past versus now. Because I do very much, like, it's very, very, very different. You're right. A lot of things have changed, especially here in like the last 6 months. It's very different place to live. It really is. All
right. Well, Jamada, last question. Earlier tonight or earlier this morning, I asked Raz if he wanted to come on the show, and he said, "I'm going to be at dinner, but also don't you say my name on the show." So I'm just curious if you have any thoughts on Raz as a person here at the end of the show. Given we avoided talking about him.
Not any thoughts that would keep your channel from getting
demonetized. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to keep those to myself. But he knows what he is.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate us taking this turn at the end here. Regardless, I do appreciate you calling in, and I also recognize the risk that you are taking in doing so. So I appreciate and respect the call a lot.
Brother, I am jobless in tier 1, man. Like I don't think I'm going back up there, but I appreciate you appreciating me feeling like I'm taking a risk coming here and speaking.
I mean, I think everybody who talks about this stuff takes some sort of risk, right? Especially as we all assume this is going to become more and more prevalent over time.
Yeah, I'm not going out there and trying to talk about it like this way, so I do respect that. Yeah.
Sure.
I get it. Yeah, I get it.
Anything you want to shout out here at the end?
Shout out the NLC. Fantastic stuff, and it gave you guys the content idea to start streaming scrims. I'm pretty sure that's where we've all got it from.
I think we came up with that on our own.
No, I don't think you did. Shout out Don Jake. We're gonna get him on a diet plan and a treadmill soon. And Cat for Kobe. It's not
why.
Not really
why?
Thing,
it's 2025.
It's not my thing, but you know what? I know they love to do it here.
Travis, you might be able to waive your adoption fees with FlyQuest.
All right, this show's gone on too long. Thanks so much, Jamada, for the call. We'll catch you later.
I've got one more shout out.
You burned it on the last one.
Is that how that works? Well, shout out Papa Smithy. Seems he's here. He's in the chat. That guy fully inspired me to put on a headset and start casting. So yeah, shout out that guy because I saw his name in the chat. Much love to him.
All right, catch you later.
Later.
I love that Raz was not here. He showed up, and then I guess he must have heard what we were talking about, and he just pieced the fuck out and missed the whole point of us making fun of him. All right. I want to shout out here at the end. I was joking about YouTube not showing up to support me, and then Joshua Lippman sent a $20 super chat. Pugsley here became a member. Thomas Wrights and Talks became a member. Misha, member as well, and Joshua Lippelman sent 10 gifted memberships, which is really cool. People get to go watch early interviews that I've done over this past weekend before they're live on the channel. So thanks to everybody who did that. Cubby, what do you want to shout out? What do you want to plug here at the end?
Shout out to the LPL English broadcast, which will be resuming after the LPL is wrapped with their Lunar New Year break. Something that Jamada and I have both somewhat been a part of on a couple days. And the person running that, which is Kelsey Moser, and everyone else helping out with that project. Besides that, excited for the games in Brazil, and congrats to the 8 teams that made it to that stage of the tournament. And I hope that we get some good matches. I think that there is LTA S teams are going to be more competitive than what most LTA North fans will expect, and I hope that we actually get good games from that. So yeah.
Kelby, what do you want to shout out?
Thanks for having me on, Travis, Cubby. It was a good time. And I want to shout out Dave. What's his last name, Travis?
It's with a G. Let me look. I follow him.
Dave, the head designer on the Riot card game, who was a very, very gracious teacher of Magic to me this weekend and made my experience much, much more enjoyable. Yeah.
I think I'm allowed to say that I got to play some Project K with him, and it was really fun. So I have the deck, so I played it a little bit previously, but it's a little different whenever you're beating down. When it was great because I was like, Dave, I think this Volibear deck is OP, and he's like, eh. And then I just crushed him with it, and that felt pretty good. So, but yeah, it was cool. It was cool to see him. I want to shout out, folks, something really exciting, which is, well, you know, I know that many people on this show, including my co-host, don't really care about this, but if you missed it, on February 4th, the 2025 NACL Split 1 Primer went up on the LOL Esports channel, and you can now learn all sorts of information about what's happening at, for instance, when the NACL qualifier date has been announced and where you can watch it and all this stuff. So, you know, I just, as an avid Tier 2 fan myself, and perhaps the only one on this show who cares about Tier 2, I just wanted to shout out the NACL. It's really great to see it announced, and I really would encourage everyone to go watch it.
Yeah. Good shout out, Travis.
Thank you.
I appreciate your pandering in that aspect, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Because now, you know, people can't complain like Cubby brings up Tier 2 too much. It's you this time. You're taking bullets for me. And that's a good teammate right there.
That's what I try. We're always trying to help each other out here on the show. All right. Either way, thank you to NZXT. Thank you, PrizePicks. Great to have them back. Thanks everybody. Thanks to Kelby for coming on the show and staying late. This was
thanks, Kelby.
A really big episode, but it was fun. And really had a good one. So we'll see you guys next Monday after the Brazil games have taken place, at least the first week of it. That'll be really fun. I got to go give a speech at a wedding this weekend, so I will not be in Brazil, but it will be fun.
Enjoy.
And I'll be in Chicago next week if anybody wants to say hi, and I'm stopping in Salt Lake City to hang out with some. I'll be visiting the Brandon Sanderson offices, so that will be pretty cool. Dragonsteel. Catch you all later.